Ever wonder where you would go if you were completely burnt out? Somewhere quiet and disconnected from the world where time moves slowly. Throw in some hot springs and it is basically the dream. Our girl finally found that spot, even if she basically ended up there by total accident. Right now, she is living her best life inside a dragon's stomach. It is the ultimate laid-back lifestyle. Life was not always this chill. As the Knight Commander, she was the legendary symbol of the nation and a hero everyone admired. Lisa Liana was the 17th person to hold the title, known for being braver and more noble than anyone else. But being the best meant drowning in constant work until she literally passed out at her desk. Back at her office, the workload is already out of control. Her subordinate lists off 40 approval requests and 6 afternoon meetings without taking a breath. The pile grows even higher, with 2 more inspection reports due by the end of the day. She warns them that her desk cannot handle a single extra sheet of paper, looking like a total zombie. She is convinced that the sheer volume of paperwork is actually going to be her cause of death. In the Ardian Kingdom, the royal demands are just as relentless. She gets hit with a surprise safety inspection for a mountain range that is supposed to happen tomorrow. Her superior explains that they cannot risk any monsters being in the area while the royal family is visiting. He wants a full preliminary investigation done immediately. She tries to ask if anyone else can handle it, but the answer is a hard no. It has to be the Knight Commander herself. The superior insists that having the Knight Commander personally confirm the safety is the only way to go. He expects a full report the moment she finishes the job. She gives a hollow acknowledgement before finally leaving the office. The reality of tomorrow's mission starts sinking in as the door shuts behind her. Her soul basically leaves her body. She was supposed to be on paid leave at the hot springs right now. She mopes down the hallway, devastated that the vacation request she just got approved was trashed in seconds. All her days off just keep getting skipped. The public sees the Knight Commander as a national idol, but that is just a shallow lie. In reality, she is just a middle management worker used by the people at the top. Her life is a cycle of writing reports and fixing budgets to satisfy the ministers. There is no end to the desk work and 0 days off. Her boss hits her with a thumbs up and a smile. He tells her she is the only one they can truly rely on. She is actually in tears. Those words were just way too unfair for a girl who just wanted a nap. She tries to stay positive and hopes that finishing the mountain inspection early might still save her afternoon, but that dream dies the second she sees what is waiting for her at the peak. A giant dragon is just sitting right there. Our girl can only stare in shock at the monster that definitely was not in the job description. The situation is officially a disaster. She is losing her mind because this thing is beyond huge. She finally gets why dragons are labeled as special grade threats. This is her first time seeing one in person, and the energy is terrifying. Her body finally gives out from the lack of sleep and exhaustion. She hits the floor knowing that this timing is the worst. She lies there paralyzed with 0 strength left in her body. The dragon looms over her as she realizes she is in big trouble. She is officially done with this job. Good thing they did that safety inspection, right? Waking up to a view she definitely didn't expect. A quick vibe check has her wondering if she actually kicked the bucket. Reality hits her hard. Getting bodied by a dragon is one thing, but doing it while sleep-deprived is just embarrassing. Her whole body feels like lead, but her mind is still stuck on that vacation she missed. Just one more soak in a hot spring was all she wanted before the end. A voice suddenly cuts through her misery. Turns out some guy is relieved he won't have to haul a corpse today. She thinks he's her guide to the great beyond, but he quickly shuts that down. His name is Amon. He's a regular human, and this place is definitely not heaven. He drops the biggest truth bomb ever. They aren't in a cave or the afterlife. They are literally inside a dragon's stomach. Lisa looks like she just saw her bank account balance after a long weekend. Inside a dragon's stomach, she stammers, completely failing to process the situation. Amon gives her a casual thumbs up like they are just hanging out at a coffee shop. Yeah, we both got eaten, he says, acting like it is just another Tuesday. He clocks her expensive gear and guesses she is some high-ranking knight commander from the neighborhood. Most people do not survive the trip down the dragon throat, so he is actually impressed she is still in one piece. Lisa is officially losing it because this guy is way too chill for the situation. She wonders how he can even explain something so insane with a straight face. He just shrugs it off, saying he either got used to it or he is just built different. He decides it is getting a bit too chilly for a heart-to-heart in the middle of a digestive tract. He peels back a curtain and invites her into a room that actually has furniture. Let us head inside and talk for real, he suggests, leading the way to his home. Lisa just stands there with her soul leaving her body. Seeing a full camp set up inside a monster stomach was definitely not on her bucket list. A bird flies right into her face before Ammon catches it and tells it not to run away. He apologizes and explains he is building a pen for his food chickens, leaving her stunned. The room is furnished with a bed, a desk, and actual chairs. It is like he is living a normal life just inside a dragon. He explains that he used to be a mountain hunter who lived at his own pace. During a normal hunting trip, he crossed paths with a huge dragon. Instead of running, he wondered if the dragon would taste good and attacked it. Lisa can only stare and ask if he is an idiot. Amon points out a literal mountain of junk that the dragon swallows daily, explaining that almost everything in his house is just salvaged trash. Since there was no escape, he decided to build a home to survive and surprisingly started having a blast. He casually suggests that living a slow life inside a monster gut might actually be a valid career choice. Lisa's brain finally short-circuits as she confirms what she already suspected. This dude is a total idiot. She snaps and tells him that stomach living is not an option, but Amon just hits her with some deep logic about any place being home. Amon drops the bomb that he's been chilling here for half a year without a single problem, and Lisa's soul officially leaves her body. Through her eyes, he looks like a complete psycho who has clearly lost his mind after 6 months in isolation. Amon calls out to her as she heads for the exit, but she just stops at the tent door. She mentions how weird this whole situation is before drawing her sword. She suddenly launches a massive attack at the wall. Amon screams, asking what she is doing, but she coldly replies that she is leaving. The dust settles and the wall is completely fine. She stares at her blade, unable to believe her strikes did nothing. Amon tries to explain that the dragon's stomach is basically magic-proof. She is not having it and puts her blade to his throat, telling him to shut up. Lisa points her sword at his throat and tells him he has clearly lost his mind. She promises to get them both out of there if he just stays quiet. Amon is offended that she jumps straight to insults after he tried to help. She shouts back that a simple hunter could never understand the weight on her shoulders. She screams that she is a knight commander, her life belongs to her country, and she refuses to die in a place like this. Lisa is not having this outcome. Starving to death in a dragon gut is a hard pass for her. Amon tries to gaslight her into thinking this is a noble end. Being eaten by a dragon is just another day at the office in his mind. She is not buying the warrior death routine. Since she is still breathing, she is going to find a way out. She unleashes a storm of strikes to force an exit. Her duty to the country comes before any slow life fantasies. Amon screams for her to stop as she hacks away at the walls. He is more worried about her making a mess than the actual sword swings. He is actually heated about her trashing the place. Bro spent months building this stomach base, and she is ruining the whole aesthetic. The casual vibe disappears as magic circles fill the air. Amon is not letting anyone mess with his relaxation spot without a fight. Amon summons a massive magic circle to show he is done playing games. Lisa is stunned by the glowing ring of light. She realizes the man she thought was a simple hunter is actually a mage. She tries to move, but her feet are caught in a pile of rubble. Lisa demands to know why he is interfering with her mission. Amon claims he just wants her to stop rampaging in his home, but she tells him he has lost his mind. Amon finds the situation ironic. He acknowledges her strength but hints that her confidence is misplaced. Lisa gives him one final warning to step aside. If he keeps resisting, she promises to cut him down where he stands. He drops a bombshell and reveals he has been living in this stomach for 6 months. Suddenly, a massive tremor shakes the area. Amon decides to show her what home field advantage really looks like as a massive wooden ship drops from the sky. Lisa can only stare as the hull looms over her. She cannot believe her eyes as a sailing ship descends. Amon explains that everything the dragon eats eventually rains down in this exact spot on a schedule. He admits the dragon swallowing an entire ship without chewing is a bit much. Bro basically tells her she has some truly rotten luck. The uneven terrain makes it impossible for her to move. Lisa realizes he intentionally lured her to this junk pile because he knew exactly when the next delivery was coming. The ship slams into the junk pile with enough force to bury everything underneath. Lisa is completely pinned by the wreckage. Back at the castle, a memory shows a much simpler time for our commander. She finally finished her work early and just wanted to head home to clean her room. Other knights grabbed some drinks and talked about how hard she works for her age. One of them mentions she does it all with pride. Hearing the truth hits different. Turns out her subordinates think the commander title is just a fancy name for a scapegoat. They are already taking bets on her shelf life. This job is sounding less like a career and more like a sentence. She walks into her office feeling like a total fraud. She wonders if she is really just a decoration for the military. Drowning in paperwork and self-doubt, this definitely is not the glorious nightlife she imagined. Sharp cut back to the present where she finally opens her eyes. She is still breathing, but her body is a mess of bandages. Amon managed to use a bit of magic to keep her stable. He admits her injuries were brutal, so she is going to be a mummy for a while. The second she has strength, she starts throwing insults. Bro just laughs it off and tells her to climb the ladder if she has a problem. Amon hits her where it hurts by suggesting her commander title was basically just for show. Lisa immediately loses her cool at the sheer disrespect. He just smirks at her reaction. Since she is not even trying to deny it, he knows he hit the nail on the head. Lisa finally admits that her career was stalling out. She argues that the lack of progress is exactly why she needs to put in even more effort. Cut to a massive ship hull that has been turned into a pool. Lisa gets tossed into the water and surfaces to find Amon already lounging in the deep end. She is beyond baffled by the situation. Amon casually explains that he took the same ship that almost crushed her and turned it into a hot tub. He goes into full engineer mode with a diagram of the plumbing. By filtering out the mana from the dragon's stomach acid, he managed to create the perfect bathwater. He brags about the temperature being a steady 42 degrees. Lisa snaps back that she did not ask for a lecture on dragon anatomy and science. Amon explains that everything falling into the stomach is basically free loot for his daily life. There's just one more reason he built this place. He reveals that she was actually muttering about wanting a relaxing bath when he first found her. Lisa is absolutely shook that he heard her embarrassing sleep talk. Bro starts listing her entire tragic work history, including the fact that she went 140 days without a break. She is dying inside knowing she leaked her desperate need for a vacation while unconscious. Since it has been forever since she actually got to relax, he just wants to know if the water is hitting the spot. Lisa is too stunned to give a straight answer. She takes a moment to actually feel the water and realizes he is right. The vibes are actually perfect. All that weight and exhaustion she has been carrying in her legs starts to peel away. The magic bathwater is doing serious work on her tired muscles. The stiffness in her back is finally melting too. She cannot believe how good this feels after months of nonstop stress. She sinks into the bubbles and finally admits that this feels amazing. Amon catches her enjoying the heat while she reflects on how long it has been since she actually relaxed. Being the top knight for the country meant she never had a single second to herself. She used to push herself to the limit every day just to live up to her own high standards, but the hero life was nothing like the dream she had envisioned. The endless paperwork and constant pressure from her peers slowly turned her mind to mush. Now that she has a moment to breathe, the reality of her burnout finally hits her. Amon tells her to just forget about work and focus on the vibes. It was supposed to be her day off anyway, even if she is currently inside a monster. Back at the campsite, he hands over a cold bottle of milk as the perfect post-bath treat. This place somehow has every resort amenity she could ever need. Amon points out that sacred treasures and magic tools are always falling down here. He thinks they might eventually find a way out, even if it seems impossible right now. He plans to just vibe until that day arrives. Since she is already stuck here anyway, he thinks she should join him. Bro suggests she just treats this whole situation like a permanent vacation and takes it slow. Lisa immediately snaps because her job would never even acknowledge a normal leave request. Our girl is so used to the grind that the concept of a break is practically illegal. The thought of a lifelong vacation starts to short-circuit her brain. She realizes her entire future could just be one big streak of days off. Lisa finally gives in and accepts that this is her life now. Amon just tells her to quit stressing and enjoy the vibes. Day 2 inside a dragon's stomach, and Lisa is already starting a survival journal to make sense of her new life. Sunlight actually passes through the beast's body, keeping the stomach bright during the day without needing any lamps. According to Amon, the scales act like a natural dimmer, creating a chill light that is way softer than the outside world. A sudden rattle echoes through the cavern as a huge mountain of junk drops in for the dragon's mealtime. Everything the dragon eats gets pulverized in the throat before raining down onto the junk pile. Thinking back, it is a miracle. Lisa survived that same fall without ending up like the rest of the trash. The living area is built right next to the digestive pool, constructed entirely from scavenged parts that fell from above. This place is giving major dungeon vibes. Endless paths lead into the dark, and the scale is just wild. Lisa was taking it all in until Amon shouted for her to come check something out. He was flexing a cluster of fruit like he just found gold. Our boy is way too hyped about groceries. Up close, the fruit looked wrecked. It is melting into a puddle of sludge. Lisa told him straight up he would wreck his stomach if he ate that. Amon just shrugged, saying the actual fruit flesh was useless to him. He held up a tiny seed and called it the most important survival item. Lisa was skeptical, not seeing how a little seed would change the game. He told her to follow him since seeing is believing. She agreed to the field trip even if she was still confused. The scale of this place is just ridiculous for the inside of a monster. Those vague boundaries between the organs only make the whole area feel even more expansive. Survival was the only priority for the first few months, so the deeper zones are still a mystery. Since the layout is already memorized, the map gets passed over to Lisa. This is a full sketch of the digestive system. The base is right at the center, and they are currently posted up on the outskirts. Gastric fluid flows all the way from the center down to this very spot. The acid loses its edge during the trip, making it harmless by the time it arrives. Acid concentration hits its peak in the middle of the pool and fades away as it moves outward. This far out, the liquid is clear enough to pass for regular water. Turns out the local liquid actually tastes better than the normal stuff. One sip is all it takes for Lisa to realize the claim was actually legit. Every room in this dungeon comes with its own unique properties. Our boy explains that their options for survival depend entirely on their current location. Lisa realizes that surviving here is not just luck, but a result of being extremely careful in dangerous zones. He leads her to the entrance and stops to reveal their next stop. Welcome to the farm area, a lush garden flourishing in the middle of nowhere. The scale of this place is mind-blowing, with rows of trees that definitely should not be growing inside a monster. Turns out, the stomach lining is the perfect soil accelerating growth, so things reach full size in only a few months. Our boy spends his free time hunting for seeds to gradually add some variety to his personal plantation. The logistics of this place are still hard to grasp, but normal botany rules are out the window when you're dealing with dragon guts. Everything here grows on a diet of pure dragon blood, since the beast is basically a living fountain of nutrients. These plants hit their growth spurt in record time. Our boy pulls out a piece of fruit that has been soaking up all that draconic energy. Since they are already out here, he decides it is the perfect time to start prepping for lunch. He points toward the ground and suggests they harvest some fresh potatoes to take back with them. Naturally, he wants Lisa to be the one to get her hands dirty. The commander is shaken by the idea of actual manual labor. She has never touched a farm tool in her life, but he promises to walk her through the process. The lesson starts with the basics, clearing the top layer of dirt away until the vines are finally visible. Out comes a shovel from his bottomless inventory, making her realize he really does have everything prepared for life down here. She starts carefully loosening the soil with the tool while he supervises the work. It is a slow process, but she is starting to get the hang of it. He tells her to grab the vine and give it a solid yank. She reaches out with her gauntlet and takes hold. A cluster of roots starts coming up as she puts some muscle into it. The weight of it catches her off guard. Success! She hauls up a bunch of dragon potatoes and can't believe she actually pulled it off. Our guy just stands back and gives her a round of applause for the hard work. Carrying the heavy harvest is her job while he leads the way back. Adding some frozen meat to the menu sounds like the perfect plan for lunch. The idea of a freezer inside a dragon breaks her brain. He casually mentions using his ice magic to keep things fresh. They arrive at a wall of ice packed with different kinds of meat and supplies. She is floored by the scale of his magical abilities. Since this part of the stomach was already chilly, he just helped it along. Converting the cold zone into a walk-in freezer was the only logical move for a long-term stay. He explains how the ice keeps everything fresh for weeks on end. Lisa can only watch, stunned by the high-tech convenience of his dragon belly freezer. The pure mana cost of this setup is enough to make her head spin. He just brushes it off like it is a daily chore. He tries to blame the cold environment for the magic's success, but she is not buying that excuse for a second. According to her, he is a magical prodigy. Any knight core in the world would have killed to have a guy with his reserves. She figures he must have been a high-ranking hero in the past. He just cuts her off with a simple no. The commander is left reeling by his modesty, but he sticks to his story. He gets to work thawing out the meat as she watches in awe. His logistics game is clearly on a whole other level. Ammon looks right at home in this place. Living in a monster gut is just another Tuesday for him. Lisa starts questioning his whole vibe. She wonders if he is a survivor or just a professional parasite. He keeps it humble while getting the prep ready. She is just happy as long as the food is actually edible. It is time for the cooking show to begin. He starts slicing through the meat and potatoes with zero effort. She spots a weird tub and asks what it is for. He just keeps layering the food inside. Turns out it is a bamboo steamer from a distant land. Lisa actually thinks the little kitchen tool looks pretty cute. This gadget keeps everything from falling apart while it cooks. It is the ultimate low-effort life hack for dragon belly dining. Ammon breaks down the culinary science of dragon potatoes. He keeps the skins on for flavor and explains how steaming removes any weird smells. Lisa is already losing it over the aroma before the food is even done. Next up is the flavor boost. He tosses in some tart fruit and fresh veggies to balance out the dish. Everything is prepped and ready for the final step. The finishing touch is just a simple sprinkle of salt. He sets the steamer over boiling water and tells her it is time to wait. Dinner is served. He presents a spread of steamed dragon potatoes, chicken, and a fresh fruit salad. It looks like a high-end resort meal despite being inside a monster. Lisa is shocked that he whipped up something so appetizing in record time. They sit down to dig in, and Ammon credits the dragon and the steamer for the speed. Our MC is finally getting a proper break. She takes a bite and immediately realizes it is lava temperature. Ammon asks if she is just bad with hot food, but she is just trying to process the flavor. It is a lot to take in after her stressful career. A memory of her life at the castle flashes back. She used to work so much that she would forget to eat for 2 days straight. She even left a meal sitting on her desk before she was called away for the last time. Flashback to the castle, where a bowl of soup sits forgotten on her desk. She got called away so fast she never even got a chance to take a bite. She would just sniff the cold leftovers, hoping they were still safe to eat. She was so drained from work that even using a stove felt like too much effort. Eating alone in the dark became her new normal. She would just sit there in silence, shoveling down cold meals without any joy. Back in the present, she admits to Amon that the flavor caught her off guard. It has been ages since she had a meal that was not stone cold. Her breathing starts to get heavy as she looks down at her plate. The simple act of eating something fresh is starting to overwhelm her. Tears start streaming down her face as she keeps eating. She finally realizes that warm food is a luxury she has been missing for a very long time. She tells him it is so much better than the scraps she used to live on. Amon just watches with a gentle look while she lets all that buried stress out. Amon suggests they chat while they eat since they have company for once. It is a big change of pace from her lonely nights at the castle. He thinks the meal tastes better with company, and she is stunned into silence. A tearful smile finally breaks across her face as she admits that she agrees. She is blown away by the taste of tropical fruit the dragon must have picked up from a distant land. Looking at their makeshift home, she admits she would love to visit the real tropics one day. Back in the belly of the beast, our duo is busy stocking up on groceries. Eamon thinks they have enough for a 3-day weekend, but they just need a place to store it all. Lisa finally connects the dots on why Eamon was clearing out the storage space. But as they round the corner, their hearts collectively drop. Their makeshift shelter is a total disaster. The temporary tent has been reduced to a pile of sticks and fabric. Ammon tries to blame wear and tear, but the math just is not mathing. Lisa knows deep down that something else is the culprit here. A closer look at the wreckage reveals some very familiar slash marks. Lisa realizes her day one temper tantrum just evicted them from their only home. She is on the floor begging for forgiveness, but Ammon is surprisingly chill about the situation. He actually thinks this is the perfect time for a massive upgrade. Instead of getting mad, he suggests they stop playing house and build a real home together. Lisa is stunned. A proper home in a place like this is a big step up. Ammon admits the tent was just a starter pack and they need something more spacious. It finally sinks in that they are settling down as they look over maps of the unexplored gut. He points out that a solid base is necessary if they ever want to find an exit. Our MC is ready to grind until she drops, but he has to remind her that breaks are mandatory. Looking at the giant ship wreckage, she wonders if they are going to scrap it for parts. He has a different plan. He tells her to follow him because he already has the perfect spot and materials in mind. Walking through a tunnel that is way too wide, Lisa asks if the materials are actually up ahead. Amon confirms it, admitting he had to wait for help because the weight was too much to move alone. He says that with her help and that sword, they can finally get it done. Our MC is skeptical, wondering what kind of building supplies need a legendary blade just to be broken down. She starts theory crafting in her head. Is it massive trees from a hidden farm? Or are they going to carve giant rocks into bricks? Amon tells her she is about to see it with her own eyes. Lisa just stares, realizing that this dragon's stomach completely ignores the laws of reality. The path opens up to a skeleton so massive it defies all common sense. This is the floating sky shell. It is the literal corpse of a turtle so big it used to fly through the air. Back in the day, this legend soared higher than anything else in the sky. People even called it the one who bears the stars. Lisa can hardly believe something this massive ended up as a meal. Amon explains the beast just died here after getting swallowed by the dragon. This shell is basically top-tier building material. Amon points out that these bones are so tough that even kings use them for their palaces. The only problem is the sheer size of these pillars. Amon admits his physical strength has limits, and he cannot move them by himself. He turns to the commander for a favor. If she can slice through these tough bones, they can move the pieces one by one. Lisa takes it as a personal challenge. As long as the material isn't enchanted, she claims she can cut through anything. Ammon gives the signal to begin. Lisa positions her blade against the rock-hard surface, finding the perfect spot to land the first blow. Her strike lands with massive force, splitting the legendary shell like paper. Ammon immediately gets to work, tossing a huge chunk over his shoulder to start the haul. Lisa checks their progress from the top of the bone pillar. She realizes that after just a few days in this place, her perspective is starting to shift. Watching Ammon work makes her realize this guy is built different. His drive to thrive in this dragon's stomach is way beyond what anyone would consider normal. It is not just about survival for him. He spent half a year constantly finding ways to make his life better instead of just giving up. She knows she is only alive right now because he found her. Without his help, she would have ended up just like the massive turtle skeleton rotting in the background. The commander decides it is time to step up. She wants to be more than just a guest and actually pull her own weight in their survival. A sharp snap echoes through the air as the massive bone pillar suddenly gives way. The entire structure starts to crumble, sending her plummeting as Ammon watches in horror. She hits the ground hard, buried in a thick cloud of dust. Ammon sprints over immediately to check if his new partner is still in one piece. Ammon rushes over with a worried look, asking if she is all right. She just brushes him off, claiming it was nothing but a little slip. A sharp sting catches her leg as she lands, making the pain far worse than she lets on. She grits her teeth while sweating, knowing she might have actually twisted it badly. Amon stays crouched on the ground, pointing out that her leg clearly looks injured. She simply strikes a pose and flexes, insisting she is used to pushing through this much. Her eyes drift to the unfinished structure they have been tying together all day. If they stop now, the work stays unfinished while the sun goes down. She stares down at her hands, focused on the wreckage of the tent she destroyed. While she mumbles about taking responsibility for the mess, Amon calls out her name to snap her out of it. He looks her right in the eye, reminding her that this project is about building a home for both of them. This is not just a job, but a place for the two of them to live. With a gentle smile, he tells her that nobody actually ordered them to build this thing. There's no need to push herself like that when there is no boss watching her. Amon promises that they can take it slow here and build a real home together, far from the pressure of her old life. Our girl looks completely stunned by the offer, like she's never heard anything so kind. He stops to check her injury and realizes her foot is dangerously swollen. He's genuinely shocked she was even trying to stand on it after taking such a hard fall. They decide to set up camp by the ship until she's fully healed and back on her feet. Lisa looks away and mutters a quiet apology for being a burden on his progress. Flashback to her training days where a young Lisa is collapsed on the ground and bleeding out. A cold voice looms over her asking who gave her permission to stop kneeling and rest. Her trainer stands over her with a sword, mocking her for flinching at such a tiny cut. To this guy, unless your arm is literally torn off, you're just being dramatic. He laughs at the idea of someone this weak ever becoming a knight commander. Desperate to prove him wrong, she fights through the tears and begs for just one more round. Under the spray of a shower, the water hits her fresh wounds with a sharp sting that almost makes her buckle. She grits her teeth and tells herself she has to bear with the pain if she wants to reach the top. She tells herself that if she wants to reach the top, she has to endure every bit of this pain. Back in reality, Amon works his magic on her injury while she stays quiet. She knows a little suffering, like this is nothing compared to what she has already survived. She finally breaks the silence and calls out his name. Looking around at their strange surroundings, she finds the courage to look him in the eye and say thank you. She admits that since she got here, she has been doing nothing but leaning on him for help. Our girl is clearly feeling a bit emotional about how much he has done for her. She promises to pay him back one day, but he just gives her a warm smile. He tells her not to sweat it, because in a place like this, everyone has to look out for each other. With the healing done, they turn their focus back to the massive structure standing next to the ship. Amon pumps himself up, ready to keep moving forward with their project. Against all odds, they manage to finish the whole assembly before the sun goes down. They stand back together and admire the new base they built from scratch. The new base they built is so massive it makes the entire ship look like a toy. Amon suggests using the extra space for storage since the place is way too big for just 2 people. As they settle in for the night, Lisa admits she would not have made it this far without his help. Amon tells her they can finish the interior tomorrow because right now they just need to crash. Lisa promises to work twice as hard tomorrow to make up for the delay. Just as they are getting comfortable, she notices something strange happening with the ceiling. Amon realizes their new home might already be fully decorated and tells her to look up. Her eyes catch the reflection of something incredible as she follows his gaze. The inside of the massive dragon bone is covered in glowing specks that look exactly like a night sky. It is a surreal feeling to realize they are sleeping under a magic galaxy deep inside a monster. Our boy is stumped because this phenomenon was never mentioned in any of the guidebooks. He wonders if they just stumbled onto a rare specimen or if people usually process these bones too fast to see the glow. The technical details do not really matter to her. To Lisa, the view is simply incredibly beautiful. Lying there, Lisa realizes she cannot even remember the last time she just slowed down to look at the stars. Then reality hits that they are not even outside but actually just staring at glowing bone inside a monster. Before all this, she heard the legends of the sky shell, a massive turtle that flies through the sky. It supposedly flies higher than any other living thing in the world. Because of where it travels, it earned a pretty legendary title. They call it the one who bears the stars. The superior wants answers immediately. He demands to know where Lisa has been and what she was doing while she was missing during the mountain investigation. Our girl tries to tell the literal truth about being eaten by a dragon and finding a guy with a hot spring in its stomach. Bossman is not having it and tells her to keep her ridiculous fantasies to herself. He doubles down on the guilt trip. Since she failed her mission and is now yapping about nonsense, he has seen enough. The kingdom is officially done with her. They cannot trust the title of Knight Commander to someone who brings loss to the country. The hammer finally drops, and it is brutal. Lisa is stripped of her rank and sentenced to 10 years of underground labor. She starts spiraling and listing off all the overtime and paperwork she handled without sleep. She stood on the battlefield whenever she was called, but the boss is cold as ice. Guards move in and grab her before she can even process the betrayal. She screams that she did everything for the kingdom, but they are dragging her off to the mines anyway. Our girl is stuck in a nightmare loop, screaming out in her sleep as the memory of her betrayal plays on repeat. She snaps awake with a panicked gasp, her mind still racing from the dream. Catching her breath on the futon, She looks up as Amon pulls back the curtain to let in the morning light. Amon notices she is already up and jokes about her short night of sleep. Still shaken, Lisa just mutters a vague answer while trying to find her bearings. He is already hard at work sorting through a pile of junk and planning to dump the leftovers into the dragon stomach pool. Seeing she is awake, Amon calls her over with a grin. He tells her the timing is perfect because he has a special present waiting for her. With a proud tada, he reveals a large wooden dresser. Lisa can only stare in shock as he shows off the new addition to their home. It gets even better since the drawers are packed with a full set of women's clothing. Since he has no use for them, he hands the whole wardrobe over to her. Ammon drops a dark joke about how he usually has to loot corpses for fresh threads, so finding a whole dresser is a huge win. Lisa just stands there looking traumatized by his survival tactics. Checking out the loot, Lisa realizes these clothes are actually top-tier quality. Ammon explains that most things get flattened by the dragon, making this find a miracle. He points out the dresser itself is probably noble property since the wood has high-level defense magic cast on it. Our girl is just trying to process her new wardrobe while he geeks out over the furniture. The real prize comes out when Amon pulls a pair of soft sweat clothes from the drawer. He looks like he just found a legendary item in a dungeon. Since they are super rare in the stomach world, he decides to just hand them over to her. Lisa is confused, never having heard of sweat clothes in her life. Amon breaks down the ultimate comfy routine of a post-bath nap in soft clothes. He calls her out for sleeping in her clunky armor and promises this will fix her sleep schedule. Even with a guarantee of the best sleep ever, Lisa hits him with a hard pass. Amon loses his mind screaming into the void because he cannot understand why anyone would choose armor over pajamas. Lisa drops some hardcore military lore. Apparently being a commander means the armor stays on 24/7, just in case duty calls. She is genuinely convinced that wearing pajamas is the ultimate sign of weakness. The thought of being seen as anything less than a warrior is a deal breaker. Ammon looks like he is losing brain cells listening to this. Lisa starts cooking up a very specific hypothetical scenario to justify her paranoia. This scenario involves the army actually managing to take down a dragon while everyone is asleep. It is the kind of victory that only happens once in a lifetime. During the post-battle cleanup, the knights start cutting into the beast only to find their missing leader inside. The imaginary rescue is starting to look like a social disaster. Instead of a hero in shining armor, they find their commander passed out in an oversized sweater. She can already see them judging her for the messy hair and comfy clothes. The embarrassment is clearly too much for her to handle. She is certain that a leader caught in cozy gear would lose every ounce of respect in an instant. Amon hits her with the deadpan stare, questioning if her pride is really that deep. Lisa insists her rank is too important for pajamas, but Amon just reaches out and pats her gear. She claims that wearing lazy clothes would be a disgrace to the entire nation. The vibe shifts when he asks when her armor last saw a wash. She freezes up and admits it has probably been 2 whole months. Ammon grabs her by the shoulders and asks if her coworkers were avoiding her for a reason. He even goes for the throat by guessing she definitely does not have a lover. Lisa starts yelling, demanding to know what he is actually trying to say. He stays calm and tells her he is about to be blunt. He drops the hammer and tells her she smells like sour sweat. Since they are roommates now, he is not putting up with the stench and tells her the armor has to go. A short time later, Amon waits in the hallway while she finally changes. He smirks to himself, already knowing she is going to love the new fit. Lisa struggles with the heavy buckles, reminding him that removing commander-level gear takes time. This is her first time ever stepping into something as soft as sweat clothes. Looking at herself in the new fit, she admits the lack of weight is a huge relief. She claims she is too used to hardship to judge comfort, but the vibe says otherwise. Outside in the hallway, Ammon suggests she will appreciate the clothes more after a long nap. He checks in on the sizing, but the silence from the room starts to make him a little worried. A quick peek through the curtain reveals why she stopped talking. Our boy is stunned to see she hit the pillow and instantly deleted herself from reality. Curled up under the blankets, she looks more peaceful than a knight commander has any right to be. The magic of the dragon's belly is finally letting her catch up on months of lost sleep. Sunlight hits, and she wakes up feeling completely refreshed for the first time in years. No nightmares or professional stress followed her into this dreamless sleep. She charges toward Ammon with a beaming smile, declaring that these magic clothes are the greatest thing ever. The serious warrior persona is officially dead. Long live the loungewear queen. Lisa is beaming after her first real sleep in years and tries to thank him properly. Ammon just shrugs it off, joking that he has no use for women's clothes anyway. He hands her a small mirror so she can see the damage for herself. After catching a glimpse of her reflection, she calls out to him while holding her knight's belt. She completely loses it, screaming for him to just end her, because a commander should not look this sloppy. Ammon just notes that she definitely has her energy back after that nap. The drama gets cut short by a loud rattle from the junk pile. Ammon realizes the morning delivery just dropped while Lisa stays curled up in a ball of shame. Ammon decides to head out and scavenge the new arrivals first. He leaves her with a parting shot, suggesting she finally do something about that hair. She grumbles to herself while trying to fix the mess. She cannot believe her hair got this bad just from tossing and turning, so she tries to blame the humidity instead. Ammon heads toward the new pile of wreckage to see what fell today. He starts checking the items when he suddenly spots something that makes him freeze in shock. Ammon scoops up a handful of dirt only to find it is soaking wet. A single drop hits his goggles as he looks up in total confusion. This is definitely not a normal delivery. He stares into the sky as a full-blown rainstorm starts pouring into the dragon's belly. Meanwhile, in the city, the sky has completely opened up. A small figure in a raincoat scrambles through the flooded streets. The door chimes as a drenched guest walks in and asks for a simple glass of water. A kind voice offers a towel as the visitor pulls back their hood, revealing a young girl covered in bandages. A friendly elf woman smiles down at her, warning that flimsy gear will not survive a storm like this. She insists that the towel is on the house. The girl can barely find the words to thank her as she huddles under the warmth. Rain drips from the eaves outside as a fresh cup of coffee is placed on the table. The woman says she just got some fresh beans in and wants her to warm up that chilled body. It is a rare moment of kindness in an otherwise cold city. The hostess clocks his gear immediately, asking if he is with the knights. He gives a simple yes while taking a seat. She admits tourists are basically urban legends in this town. When she asks if it is some kind of military drill, the young knight just shakes his head. He confesses that he is actually out here looking for someone. The elf woman thinks it is pretty rough that even a search party counts as work. Internal panic kicks in because he cannot exactly tell her he is hunting for a missing commander. He keeps his mouth shut and sticks to the coffee. As the storm rages outside, she mentions it is just a typical day in the city of rain. He gets a rude awakening when she tells him the rain is never going to stop. This place has been drenched for hundreds of years without a single break. It is not just a name, it is a permanent weather forecast. Despite the gloom, the kid thinks there's something peaceful about the endless downpour. The hostess appreciates the rare compliment for her home. The hostess is feeling generous and hands over a pair of goggles to help with the storm. She tells him they are a necessity if he wants to see anything through the downpour. He can't believe his luck, but she tells him they are just an old pair of her brothers anyway. With a quick thanks, he bolts out the door to test them out. The gear works like a charm and he is hyped that his vision is finally clear. The hostess watches from the doorway, glad to see him so excited. Something feels off as he looks up, realizing the raindrops have vanished from his sight. It's like the rain just stopped falling entirely. The hostess steps outside, realizing the clear view has nothing to do with the equipment she just gave him. Disbelief sets in as they realize the eternal storm has broken for the first time in centuries. They both look up at the sky, only to see a shadow descending over the town. A colossal dragon cruises over the city, its body so large it swallows the light. The rain is gone, but something much bigger just took its place. The historical record of Arateris, the city of rain, changed in a single moment. He looked up, frozen as the clouds finally parted. A dragon appeared over the town for the first time in 400 years. Its shadow stretched across the square, bringing every resident to a standstill. The water on the cobblestones settled into stillness. After centuries of downpour, the eternal rain had finally stopped. With a surprise shower inside the dragon belly, Lisa watches the puddles form, wondering how a weather system even works inside a living creature. Ammon explains that while most of the place stays dry, these periodic downpours probably act like a giant rinse cycle. It is only the second time he has seen it, so he is still figuring out the beast's schedule. Lisa realizes this rain is likely just a biological function, and Ammon agrees it is just a guess. Since they are stuck indoors, they accept that no work is getting done today. Ammon flashes a grin and suggests they just spend the day doing whatever they want. He tells her it is time to finally take it easy and relax. Lisa is still wrapping her head around the idea of rest. Ammon points out they have spent every waking moment fixing up the base, so a break is long overdue. The realization of having a first real day off hits her hard. She repeats the phrase to herself, trying to process what it actually means to have zero responsibilities. A small smile starts to form as the idea of actual hobbies begins to sound pretty good. Getting lost in a personal project is a welcome change of pace. Ammon suggests they split up to enjoy some downtime, and Lisa is all for it. Even the little creature nearby is humming along with the good vibes. She strolls off while humming a tune, hyped for her first day ever with zero responsibilities. This is the moment she has been waiting for. Lisa is ready to go all out on some personal hobbies now that she has the time. She clenches her fist, feeling like she can handle anything. The hype dies fast when she ends up just lying on the floor. It turns out she never actually had a hobby to begin with. A quick flashback reveals her life was basically just a loop of training and endless paperwork. Every second was spent grinding to become the Knight Commander. Now that she is actually free, she realizes how empty her personal life really is. She stares blankly, feeling like she failed at the simple task of relaxing. An hour passes with her just staring at the carpet. The silence is heavy enough that she can hear her own heartbeat thumping. Ammon looks back, completely caught off guard. He asks if she really wants him to teach her a hobby. He wonders what she was even doing until now. Lisa just admits that without work, she has zero interests. She looks like she is about to snap, admitting she spent a full hour just staring at carpet fibers. Ammon realizes this is actually getting serious. Desperate for any distraction, she grabs him by the collar and begs for a hobby before she loses her mind. He starts thinking about the best indoor activities for a rainy day. He offers to share his personal favorite pastime with her. She lights up instantly, ready for literally anything that is not staring at the floor. They head down the hall together. Her eyes widen as she gets her first look at what he has been hiding. They step into a massive library packed floor to ceiling with books. She can barely believe how many stories are stashed away in here. Turns out he has been moonlighting as a librarian for all the random loot falling from above. He figures this massive hoard of lost knowledge is the perfect way to kill some spare time. The collection is a mess of newspapers and books from all over the planet. He even has stuff written in languages that nobody can actually read anymore. He pulls out a massive scroll covered in ancient-looking script to show off the variety. This dude basically has a whole museum stashed in the back of the house. Just when she thought she had seen it all, he points her toward a magnifying lens. He promises this one is going to be the real showstopper of the collection. Under the lens sits a book so tiny it could fit on a thumbnail. Lisa is already losing it, wondering if there are literal pocket-sized civilizations running around. Maybe it is just a joke, or maybe a tiny race really did write this thing. Either way, the mystery of where these items come from is half the fun. The idea of playing world history detective finally brings a real smile to her face. Exploring lost cultures through their books definitely beats staring at the floor for an hour. Ammon suggests they spend the whole day reading books. He seems pretty happy with the idea while standing in front of his collection. Lisa is ready for the plan. He suggests they grab their picks and head to the balcony for a change of scenery. Staring at the endless options, she asks how he even narrows it down. He admits that picking by titles made him too biased, so he had to switch up his strategy. He explains that he just lets fate decide by grabbing whatever his hand touches first. Lisa thinks that is low-key romantic and decides to follow his lead. She reaches out and pulls one that feels like it was meant for her. Something about the book makes her pause immediately. Opening it up reveals some massive drawings and barely any text. It is basically a giant comic book with a horned monster on the cover. Our boy explains it is just a classic kid book that he loved growing up. Lisa looks a bit dead inside, realizing her fate is a bedtime story. Lisa is looking totally dead inside while holding a children's book. Eamon tries to hype it up as a classic, but she is clearly questioning her life choices. She decides to stick with it because she thinks picking again would ruin the vibe. Eamon just yells after her for being a hater of the genre. Rain hammers down on the house while Lisa takes a seat on the balcony. She opens the book to find a knight charging on a massive hog, which is a weirdly specific start. Staring at the pages, she realizes this story is way more juvenile than she expected. It is definitely not the epic adventure she had in mind. She flips through the pages to see if it gets any better, but it is just more of the same. Eventually, she just accepts that she is way too old for this. A fresh leaf is plucked from a plant to get the tea started. The water is poured right in to get a nice brew going while they wait out the storm. Outside, the rain is creating a strong current that is sweeping junk everywhere. Eamon watches from the window, realizing all that scrap might end up right at their door. The rain is still finding its way through the ceiling, making the hallway a total splash zone. Ammon checks the buckets and realizes the dragon keeps finding new ways to give them chores. Our boy heads over to the balcony with a fresh tray of tea to check on Lisa. He tells her she does not have to force herself through a boring book if she is not feeling the vibe. Lisa looks genuinely moved by the gesture, her expression softening as she takes the drink. She manages a quiet thank you while he leaves her to enjoy the piece. Looking back at the pages, she realizes the simple story is actually hitting different. Maybe kids' books are not so bad after all. A sudden memory from years ago hits her. Back when she was just a kid, the local children used to invite her over to look at picture books together. But she was never allowed to join the fun. While the other kids were busy playing games, her companion was always there to pull her back to reality. She was told that a single day of rest would make her weak and dull. Training with the master was the only thing allowed if she wanted a future. Back in the day, her mentor warned her that becoming a commander meant ignoring the invitations from normal kids. She was told that any distraction would keep her from reaching the top. Looking back at all the toys and games she missed out on, she finally understands how much flavor the world actually has. She realizes that there was a lot of joy hidden in the things she was forced to ignore. The two of them just vibe on the deck, getting lost in their books while the rain pours down. It is a quiet moment of peace that neither of them wants to break. Lisa wakes up rubbing her eyes and realizes she accidentally took a nap. Eamon lets her know it is already time for dinner and asks how she liked her first dive into the story. He can tell she is obsessed with the story, but she tells him to zip it so she can enjoy the post-book high in peace. She is not ready to return to reality just yet. This girl's speed ran 3 entire volumes before she even realized how late it had gotten. She is already asking about the next volume in the series. She is ready to start the next one, but Amon is looking pretty sus when she asks where volume 4 is hiding. His nervous expression suggests that the binge watch might be coming to a sudden halt. Amon drops the bombshell that volume 4 is actually missing from the stash. Lisa looks like she just witnessed a crime against literature. She hits the floor in pure despair while he suggests the ultimate sin of just skipping the volume. Lisa loses it and demands to know why he would even start her on the series if he did not have the whole thing. He admits he did not expect her to get this obsessed with the story. Amon offers to spoil the plot to save time, but Lisa grabs him by the collar with a terrifying look in her eyes. Spoilers are definitely not an option for a true fan. He realizes he is in deep trouble as Lisa mopes about her interrupted adventure. This is officially a crisis. Amon has a sudden lightbulb moment and calls her over for a new plan. He gets back to work on the base while she waits for his big idea. They stand before a massive board showing the layout of the dragon interior. Lisa realizes she is looking at a complete map of the stomach. Pointing at the map, Amon explains that the dragon's stomach still has plenty of secrets to uncover. He tells Lisa they'll eventually need to explore those areas if they ever want to find an exit. Amon compares their situation to the heroes in her novels and asks if she wants to go on an adventure together. Lisa is caught completely off guard by the sudden proposal. Looking down at her, he waits to see if she is ready to step into the unknown. The map is covered in question marks and mysterious sketches of uncharted territory. It clearly labels these vast, mysterious regions as unexplored lands. Recap time, a massive dragon appeared over a city of eternal rain and literally made the storm vanish for the first time in centuries. Back on the ground, Miguel is apologizing for the trouble, but his guide is chill about leading him through a secret shortcut. When he asks for her name, she just says it is Rain. She introduces herself as Rain Valstein, though she tells him to just call her Ray. Miguel finally drops his own name as they keep up the pace. The duo bonds over the fact that yesterday was a total fever dream. Ray admits she has never seen a dragon of that scale in her life. Ray asks if he is ditching his search mission just to report the dragon sighting to his superiors. Miguel gives a vague answer while they focus on the road ahead. Something feels off. Miguel wonders why the people in the next town never mentioned this secret forest path. The vibes shift instantly when a high-alert monster named Garboros, the Tyrant Crusher, jumps them from the shadows. Miguel is paralyzed with fear as the beast blocks their path. Miguel is shook because he actually recognizes this thing from military reports. It is Garboros, a high-alert threat famously known as the Tyrant Crusher. The beast goes on the offensive, forcing a scream out of Ray as she barely dodges the initial strike. She drops the bombshell that this shortcut is actually a well-known danger zone. Ray casually explains that monsters roam this path all the time, which is why basically everyone else avoids it. Miguel is losing it, wishing she had mentioned the death trap vibes before they started walking. Our boy watches as Ray steps up and tosses out a magical barrier to keep the monster at bay. He hides behind a tree and tries to focus, repeating the mantra that visualization is the only way he is making it out of this alive. He starts running through the tactical play in his head. The plan is to distract the beast with his sword to give Ray a chance to bolt, then pray he can find a way to escape himself. Looking at the sheer scale of the monster, he starts having second thoughts. He wonders if a standard sword can even do damage to something that looks like a moving mountain. There is no more time for thinking. The monster launches a massive strike that looks like it could flatten the entire forest. This dude is losing his mind, screaming for Ray to run back to the city while he tries to be a hero. He is convinced he is a goner, while Ray just stands there completely unbothered by his dramatic panic. Ray stays cool as a cucumber, telling him to relax because she knows these woods like the back of her hand. She casually stares down the massive beast without breaking a sweat. Miguel is completely shell-shocked while Ray brushes off the high-alert monster like it is just another Tuesday. She walks away from the encounter, claiming a threat of that level is basically nothing to her. Our boy is straight up exhausted, slumping to the ground while Ray looks on. He finally mutters that a heads up about her secret strength would have been nice before he had a heart attack. The chaos of the day finally fades into a quiet night under the stars. Bro is stunned by the peaceful vibe as they sit by the campfire and wait for dinner to finish cooking. The mood shifts instantly once the food is served. Miguel starts inhaling the grilled meat, shocked that something from a monster could actually taste this good. Sitting by the fire, he asks if monster steaks are a local delicacy. Ray explains that Garboros meat is actually a rare treat since most people are too busy running away to try cooking it. Rain breaks down the culinary secrets, explaining that the meat is only decent if you grill it with plenty of honey and spices. Miguel is shocked by how good it tastes and tells her she could easily run a restaurant. She just gives a little shrug and mentions that she actually used to own a cafe. Things get quiet for a second before Rain calls out his name. Miguel gives a muffled response while he keeps working on his second helping of monster steak. She suddenly asks if the person he is looking for is actually the missing Knight Commander. The question catches him completely off guard and makes him freeze in his tracks. While he tries to play it off with a coughing fit, Rain just watches him with a knowing look. His panicked reaction was more than enough to confirm her suspicion. He starts waving his hands around to deny it, but she tells him there is no point in lying. Apparently, the locals aren't as clueless as he thought they were. To settle the argument, she pulls out a newspaper that features the commander right on the front page. It turns out the news of her being missing has been common knowledge for over a month. Miguel is losing it. The morning edition proves the secret is out, and the entire public already knows the commander is missing. Ray confirms the headline without a hint of hesitation. The truth leaves Miguel stunned as he realizes there is no hiding the situation anymore. She explains that the commander went on a trip and just never returned. Even with every knight in the city searching for her, they couldn't find a single clue. The conversation takes a turn when Ray asks if he actually has a grudge against his boss. Miguel goes into full damage control mode and tries to shut down that theory immediately. He admits their ranks were way too far apart for any real bond. To him, the commander was just a distant legend he only heard about through the grapevine. Back then, the atmosphere in the barracks was always toxic. Miguel remembers being surrounded by knights who spent their free time dragging her name through the mud. They would laugh and call her a boring figurehead who was way too stiff. Miguel just had to listen from the sidelines while they mocked her dedication to the job. Hearing those rumors on repeat really started to mess with his head. He would pass her in the halls and see the toll the work took on her, while everyone else just talked trash behind her back. Eventually, he just stopped respecting her altogether. Seeing her forced smiles only made it worse as he looked away in disappointment. Back then, he thought she was just a useless figurehead who would never amount to anything. He realizes now how wrong he actually was about her. After she vanished, he got stuck with the mountain of work she left behind. Becoming the acting commander turned his daily life into a nightmare. Subordinates are constantly swarming the office with questions about expedition terms and soldier rations. They are just looking for someone to actually lead them. The boss just shrugs and tells everyone to wait until Lisa gets back. He has zero interest in making decisions while she is gone. No matter what the staff asks, the man in charge just dumps the responsibility onto his subordinates and disappears. Since he is gone all day, the work just keeps piling up with no end in sight. The entire order is stuck in a cycle of endless all-nighters just to keep the lights on. It took a total administrative collapse for everyone to finally realize how much was actually being done behind the scenes. The woman they all labeled as useless was actually the one carrying the weight of the entire city on her back. She spent every night buried under mountains of paperwork while her subordinates just talked trash. Miguel stares at the ground as the guilt of his past disrespect starts to sink in. He finally realizes how much he needs her back, not just as a leader, but to fix the mess they are all drowning in. Ray drops a theory that hits like a brick to the chest. She suggests that the commander might have simply broken under the brutal workload and decided to vanish on purpose. The mere thought of desertion sends a wave of panic through Miguel. If she actually abandoned her post to escape the grind, the legal consequences would be absolutely catastrophic. Back at the capital, the mustache superior is busy stuffing his face while complaining about his ruined schedule. To him, leaving the job is a guaranteed death sentence, and he has zero sympathy for a figurehead who can't handle the pressure. Hearing that there is zero mercy for the woman who saved the country is a total shock. Miguel begins to wonder if she really did run away just to escape this thankless cycle of work. Sitting by the fire, Miguel lets go of his resentment and realizes he has no right to judge the commander. He just hopes she is living happily somewhere far away from the crushing workload. Rain says she is sure the commander is fine as long as she is still breathing. Miguel agrees that her safety is all that matters to him now. In her eyes, anyone who could survive a workplace that toxic is essentially immortal. If she could handle the military grind, she can handle anything. The two share a rare smile and agree that she is probably fine. That moment of peace is short-lived when a loud yell for Amon echoes through the area. Elsewhere, Lisa is having a meltdown because she is convinced she is about to die. Amon tries to keep her moving toward the next area, but she is tired of the empty promises. They find themselves trekking through a huge mountain range covered in deep snow. It makes zero sense for a stomach to have its own weather system, but here they are. The cold is getting dangerous, and her heavy armor is acting like a freezer. Lisa reaches her limit and collapses, gasping as her body starts to shut down. Lisa dizzily tries to stay focused on her partner, but her internal organs are officially calling it quits. Amon is in a total panic as he realizes her heart just stopped right in front of him. Amon screams her name across the frozen wasteland, but there is no response. It is a full-blown medical emergency as our girl goes into cardiac arrest. Blinking against a faint glow, Lisa slowly opens her eyes as her vision finally starts to clear. She is completely disoriented as she looks around the strange area and wonders where she ended up. Everything finally clicks as she realizes she is wrapped in a thick, warm blanket. The absolute nightmare of the blizzard she just survived comes rushing back to her in an instant. Vivid flashbacks of the snowy mountain return, showing Amon struggling to carry her through the freezing wind. He really put the team on his back to keep her alive while she was unconscious. Hobbling around in search of her partner, she notices a sudden shift in the air and the smell of salt. Her confusion only grows when she hears the unmistakable sound of water crashing nearby. Walking out into the open, she finds herself standing on the edge of a massive, sun-drenched shoreline. It is a total vibe shift from the frozen peaks they were just fighting for their lives in. Lisa can barely believe her eyes as she stares at a literal ocean stretching toward the horizon inside the dragon. Amon waves to her from the shallows, thrilled to see her finally back on her feet. The dude is out here barehanding massive fish for dinner, like it is no big deal. He is hyped about the fresh food supply while the waves keep rolling in behind him. Amon breaks it down and explains how they escaped that freezer by walking through a cave to find this beach. He is just glad she finally woke up and wants to use this spot as their new base. The climate here is actually stable, so they are officially moving in. Amon heads off to catch more fish for dinner while things are chill. Our girl tries to act like she is back at 100% and wants to help with the chores. Amon is not buying it and tells her she needs to rest. She attempts one step before her body completely gives out. Face planting into the sand definitely kills the vibe. Her legs feel like heavy stones as she hits the ground. Amon rushes over, but she is basically glued to the beach. He reminds her they were walking for an entire day through a mountain range. No matter how much fun the adventure is, it is still exhausting. Pushing through unfamiliar physical work is the fastest way to burn out. Lisa finally starts to realize she needs a break. Lisa admits she has gotten rusty after years of desk work back home. Her body just cannot handle the grind of the dragon's stomach anymore. Amon just listens to her vent about her lack of stamina. Our boy Amon puts in some serious work on the shoreline. He is oddly proud of the massive hole he just finished digging in the sand. The vibe takes a dark turn when he suggests she should climb into the pit and bury herself. Lisa is absolutely stunned by the sheer audacity of this request. A heavy silence falls over the beach as she tries to make sense of the situation. She finally asks if he is actually planning to end her right here. Lisa starts panicking and refuses to get anywhere near the sand. Amon claims it is just a special recovery method to fix her exhausted body. He tries to sell it by saying her head will stay above the sand, but that just sounds like a trap. Lisa is not buying the health benefits of being buried alive. She hits him with a hard refusal and a look that says she is done with his weird ideas. There is zero chance she is letting him bury her in the dirt today. Lisa decides to give this weird ritual a shot since Amon is so confident about it. He grabs his shovel and starts piling the sand right on top of her. Regret hits her immediately as the first heavy shovelfuls of dirt land on her chest. This is not some secret recovery technique. She is being buried alive right now. Lisa watches him work and starts to wonder if he is actually just venting some hidden aggression. Maybe he is burying her because he is low-key mad about something. She starts spiraling, thinking about how much of a burden she has been during their trek. He might finally be tired of her slowing him down and decided this was the easiest solution. The panic reaches a peak when she realizes her heart is pounding against the heavy pressure. Just as she prepares for the end, something feels different. All that stress vanishes when a wave of cozy warmth finally hits her. Amon just smiles, knowing she is finally feeling the benefits of his beachside spa treatment. He breaks down the science, comparing this spot to volcanic sand baths found in the outside world. It turns out the heat from deep underground is perfect for soothing tired muscles. Amon stands over his work with a shovel, theorizing about a heat source deep inside the dragon. Lisa is still skeptical about the idea of a volcanic stomach, but Amon just gives her a mysterious look. He starts geeking out about dragon biology, imagining a massive flame organ sitting right beneath them like a natural heater. It is a wild theory, but in a world where they live inside a beast, it actually makes sense. Lisa realizes she cannot argue with the logic when she is literally feeling the heat through the sand. If this dragon actually breathes fire, then this whole beach is basically just a giant heating pad. Our boy claims he read about this sandbath trick in an old book, promising it is the ultimate cure for fatigue. Lisa is still looking at him like he might be crazy, but the warmth is getting harder to ignore. The vibe shifts as the heat and weight of the sand start working their magic on her core. It is like a total body reset, boosting her circulation and melting away all that built-up stress. Amon leans in with a satisfied smirk, asking if she can finally feel that exhaustion disappearing. He is clearly proud of his weird survivalist spa treatment. The results speak for themselves as her frozen body finally starts to thaw out. She has to admit the guy actually knew what he was talking about. Stiffness in her legs finally starts to fade as that underground heat works its magic. It is the perfect reset after that freezing mountain climb. A gentle warmth and a cozy weight settle over her. This vibe is so peaceful, she almost forgets where she actually is. Our girl is fully lost in the sauce, imagining a luxury lounge complete with tea and snacks. She is 1 second away from falling into a permanent nap. Back in the real world, Amon heads out to secure some lunch. After she apologizes for being a burden, he tells her to bake for 10 more minutes before hopping out. Watching him walk away, she starts feeling a little mid about her performance so far. She is supposed to be an elite commander, but she keeps needing a carry. Embarrassment about her lack of survival skills finally kicks in. Fists pop out of the sand as she prepares to lock in for the next leg of the trip. Bursting out of the ground, she is officially done being the damsel. Once she is back to full strength, she vows to be the one carrying the team for a change. Our boy is out here grinding for some meal prep. He figures if he dries his catch, they will be set for several days. Something catches his eye, breaking the surface. He realizes it is a rare trollmina, famously known as the honey shining fish. This fish is no joke, living only in the most dangerous waters. Even though it is usually small, catching just one is enough to buy an entire house. Apparently, the flavor is so peak that even an ogre's face would melt from how delicious it is. The target is heading straight for him. Eamon locks in and decides that dinner is officially served. He prepares to feast with Liena, but things take a turn when the fish finally emerges. It turns out this legend is a lot bigger than the stories led him to believe. Liena is finally feeling like herself again after that recovery session. She decides it is time to start pulling her weight and find Amon. She wants to be the one helping for once, but a loud scream from the beach cuts her internal monologue short. A giant fish suddenly leaps from the water with Amon riding it like a surfboard. He screams that he has a major emergency on his hands. Liena recognizes the beast as a trollmina, though it is way larger than any story she heard. Amon is just focused on not falling off and becoming fish food. This reminds her of a royal banquet she once guarded where the nobles obsessed over how delicious these fish were. Seeing a live one in the wild is a whole different vibe than seeing it on a platter. Amon yells at her to quit staring and grab the rope from his bag. He needs her to toss the line and pull him back to the shore. Liena locks in and prepares to make the save. Amon is struggling to keep his air while the fish tries to shake him off under the water. This beast has ridiculous strength and is not going down without a fight. Finally breaking the surface for a desperate breath, he starts to wonder if this thing mutated into a monster thanks to the dragon's magical energy. Liena steps up and launches the rescue line across the water. She tells him to hold on as the rope flies toward the chaos. A clean catch. Amon secures the line and gives her a shout out for the clutch save. The vibe shifts instantly when the fish opens its massive jaws right under him. Liena loses it and screams his name as the situation goes from bad to worse. Our girl refuses to let him become fish food. She grips the rope with everything she has, determined to finally be the one doing the heavy lifting. Clenching her teeth and locking in, she commands herself to pull it together and starts to haul him in. Liena locks in and hauls the line with everything she has. She screams about being the kingdom's most resilient commander as the massive fish finally hits the shore. Amon is safe but absolutely drenched on the sand. He admits magic underwater is a total nightmare, while Liena rushes over to check on him. They take a second to breathe, staring at the catch from a distance. Encountering a legendary fish this massive definitely was not on the itinerary. Amon starts theorizing about weird mutations while thanking Liena for the save. He thinks the beast is harmless on land, but our girl's face says otherwise as she spots something terrifying. The vibe shifts instantly when this fish suddenly stands up on muscular legs. Liena screams for Amon to move as the predator reveals its true form with a roar. Moving on pure instinct, she shoves him out of the line of fire. The creature slams into the ground, kicking up a massive explosion of sand and debris. Amon is in a total panic, screaming her name through the dust cloud. Liena's voice comes from the smoke, telling him to stay back because she is holding her own. Liena is beating herself up, admitting she has been a burden during this whole trip. She realizes the monster in front of her is from an unexplored land, and she finally needs to step up. Our girl reminds herself she is a sword-wielding knight commander. She tells Amon to watch closely because this is finally her moment. Main character energy is back. She grips her blade, deciding that if she cannot be useful here, she has no right to even carry a sword. The monster lets out a massive roar while towering over her. She locks in, admitting its size is crazy, but her eyes are already searching for a weakness. She spots a gap in its rhythm. Its attack pattern is actually simple, and she is certain she can time it. Total movie scene. She closes the gap and delivers a savage slash that rips right through the beast. The creature is leaking badly while Amon cheers her on from the sidelines. Liena stays on high alert, screaming for him to stay back and keep his distance. Liena is not done yet. She senses something is still wrong as she stares down the beast. The monster's arm starts reforming in an instant. Our girl is totally stunned to see it has regeneration powers. The creature lets out a deafening roar and lunges for the water. It disappears into the waves with a heavy splash. She stands there in disbelief as the danger fades. It really just retreated back into the sea. The ocean goes quiet again. They actually made it out alive. Exhaustion finally hits as they slump down on the beach. Amon admits this place is too dangerous to handle alone. He tells her they should never split up again. His face suddenly drops as he spots something on her. Ammon points out a huge crack in her chest plate, and Liena looks down in total disbelief at the damage. He starts panicking and apologizes, thinking he broke it while protecting her, and tells her to take the broken piece off. After taking a closer look at the fracture, she admits her magic will only get her halfway to a full repair. To his surprise, she tells him to just leave it exactly as it is. Aemon is completely thrown off and wonders why she would want to keep wearing trashed gear. He tries to argue that commander armor is too high quality to leave broken, but she says that is even more reason to keep the marks. We get a look at the other knights back home, realizing that every single soldier carries their own set of battle scars. She explains that whether a knight is brave or cowardly, protecting someone always leaves a mark on their gear. She finally looks like a soldier who has actually been in the fight. Ever since she took the top spot, our girl was always kept in the back, never seeing a second of actual frontline action. Being the knight commander meant being a glorified figurehead because they couldn't risk their shiny symbol getting a single scratch. Having spotless armor made her the butt of every joke behind her back, but now she turns to Ammon with a completely different mindset. She looks at the damage with genuine pride, telling him that protecting him was worth every crack in her gear. Ammon can hardly believe what he is hearing as she dismisses the damage so casually. Suddenly, an old memory resurfaces of an older sibling explaining that scars earned for a little brother are actually a badge of honor. The advice to go find friends in the outside world echoes from a time long before he ever met her. Lisa calls out to Ammon from behind, but he does not respond. She leans in with a worried look, asking if he is doing all right. The concern in her voice catches him off guard and leaves him stunned. He quickly covers his face and shakes his head, frantically repeating no as he tries to regain his composure. Ammon looks at her with a soft, grateful smile. Looking out over the shore, he finally finds the words to thank her for being there. Liena just brushes it off, promising to take the lead in every fight from now on. We open on a sunny shore where Ammon and Liena stand before a scaly leg lying on the sand. He claims this meat is legendary enough to make even an ogre lose its mind, but Liena points out that no one has ever tried eating mutated limbs. Our boy is already drooling and tells her it is time to dig in. Liena is having a crisis in the background, wondering if he is actually serious about eating a monster leg. She begs him to reconsider since the limb grew out of nowhere, but he is not hearing it. He argues that even if it looks sketchy, this fish is worth more than a house. Ammon insists it would be a crime to let such expensive meat just rot on the beach. Liena reluctantly agrees, though she still feels a bit sick, thinking about the high price tag versus the gross reality. Looking at the scaly claw up close makes her stomach turn. The appearance is just way too much for her to handle, and the reptilian textures are a mess. After some prep, Ammon stands over a manageable slab of meat and gets ready to feast. Liena realizes she has not eaten in a whole day and accepts that beggars cannot be choosers as she helps him out. Ammon stares intensely at the cross-section of the meat and goes quiet for a moment. When Liena asks if something is up, he just brushes it off and says it is nothing to worry about. Ammon gets straight to work prepping a flat stone over the fire while giving Liena a crash course on how to properly clean and dry the monster meat. He is taking this culinary mission very seriously. Liena is having a total internal crisis because her stomach is growling for a literal monster arm, but she cannot help feeling a bit pathetic. Ammon just ignores the vibe, oiling the stone and dropping the salted steak right on top. The sizzle is real, and the smell is so godly it actually brings her appetite back from the dead. It turns out that even creepy monster limbs smell like a 5-star meal when they hit a hot grill. After a quick flip, he covers the whole thing with a pot to lock in the steam. Our boy is basically running a gourmet cooking show in the middle of a dragon belly. The reveal is actually insane. The finished product looks incredible, and he officially dubs it the steamed grilled monstrous Trollmina arm. Since they are short on fine china, Ammon suggests they just dig in with their hands. Liena is sweating buckets because she knows exactly what this meat used to be, but the aroma is too hard to resist. She finally takes a bite and realizes this is the true adventure life. Eating the very thing that tried to kill her earlier is the ultimate survival of the fittest power move. Liena takes one bite and her soul basically leaves her body. She realizes right away that this monster meat is 5-star quality. The texture is on another level. It is perfectly crispy on the outside while staying buttery soft and flaky on the inside. She is drowning in a deep sea of flavor. This is an unexplored frontier of cuisine she never expected to find inside a dragon. After inhaling the entire meal, she finally comes back to reality. She is sitting on the sand surrounded by bones and feeling a bit guilty. Our boy Ammon is acting totally sus. Liena catches him crouching over something and demands to know what he is doing. He tries to play it cool, but he is clearly hiding something. He admits he was acting weird because the fish tasted better than he imagined. Then he says something that makes her reconsider his sanity. He was actually tempted to try the whole thing while it was still raw. Liena is not about that life and immediately shuts down the idea of eating mystery monster meat raw. She knows exactly how this ends, and it is definitely not in a 5-star restaurant. She starts listing every possible reason why this is a bad move, including the very high chance of alien parasites. Since the thing mutated so fast, she is convinced it is basically a walking biohazard. Ammon completely tunes her out and goes for the chomp anyway, ignoring her warnings about literal death. He freezes up for a second as if his system just encountered a critical error. He faceplants straight into the sand, leaving Liena to scream and beg him not to die over a bad snack choice. It looks like the monster meat might have actually finished the job. Turns out he has just ascended to flavor heaven, claiming the taste was so good it literally turned his brain off. He is actually crying because his taste buds have never been this disrespected in a good way. Liena has zero sympathy left and warns him that he is definitely going to regret this in the morning. She makes it clear that she is not playing nurse when his stomach inevitably stages a coup. She walks off with a shrug, convinced that his food high is going to end in a massive stomach ache. That satisfied look on his face is not going to last through the night. She finally pours on the sauce and goes for it. One big bite and her taste buds are seeing heaven. The two of them end up passed out on the sand from the food coma. Eamon asks for a review and she admits this meat is worth a fortune. Night settles over the beach as they relax by the campfire. Liena looks up from her map and asks what her partner is doing. Deep in the shadows, Amon tinkers with a project. He tells her he is busy making a trophy to remember their big win. Using a small knife, he starts carving away at a piece of the monster claw. It is his way of keeping a souvenir from their struggle. Liena cannot believe her eyes. That claw shredded her heavy armor, yet he is cutting through it like butter with a basic blade. The secret lies in the anatomy of the shell. While the outside is rock hard, the inside is soft enough for a little craft project. Ammon hands over a shard of the monster claw, noting that its rapid growth made the inner layer soft enough to carve. Liena doesn't see the big deal until he tells her to hold the plain-looking rock up to the light. Held against the campfire, the stone glows with a deep blue color. It looks like a fragment of the ocean was caught inside. He explains that his people keep items like this to honor their prey and mark their own personal growth. This trophy is meant to be a permanent symbol of her victory and a reminder of the battle she survived. Liena can hardly believe he is giving it away, cherishing the fact that she finally has a beautiful memory of this place. Years ago, a group of girls is obsessed with the fancy souvenirs they brought back from a family trip to a foreign sea. Girls was bragging about their fancy vacation to a foreign sea. They could not stop talking about the white sand and the perfect ocean breeze. Back at the barracks, it was strictly lights out. The supervisor warned everyone that training was starting early the next morning, so they needed to sleep. Tucked into her bunk, Lisa pulled out a small jar of sand to see if it still smelled like the ocean. She knew it was probably just her imagination, but she did not care. She had always dreamed of visiting a foreign sea one day. Back in reality, Amon was surprised she had actually kept a keepsake from her childhood for so long. Liena gave a small smile and joked that this whole mess felt like a quick one-night, 2-day trip. Ammon was baffled that she could call a near-death experience a simple vacation. He realized that was just that elite knight commander mindset at work. They had finally gathered enough supplies at the base camp for their next move. Ammon decided they would wrap things up and head back home in the morning. Lisa reflects on the trip with a genuine smile. Textbooks could never capture an adventure this wild. She turns to Ammon with a heartfelt thank you. Watching the campfire, he is just relieved she enjoyed the ride. Their whole journey is laid out on a handwritten map, charting every impossible spot they cleared inside the dragon. After 2 days of roughing it in the dirt, our boy Miguel is finally catching some Z's at a real inn. He is feeling like a new man now that they are finally close to the capital. He is already packed and ready to move, bringing that main character energy to the hallway. He is hyped to reach the capital by the afternoon and keep the search moving. Rain is clearly not a morning person, looking completely wrecked while she tells him to go on ahead. She needs a minute to actually wake up before she can even think about hitting the road. Miguel is absolutely losing it because she is being way too casual with her robe. This sloppy morning energy is clearly way too much for him to handle. Elsewhere on the road, the morning news is already making waves. The papers are confirming that the search for the missing commander is still turning up nothing. Riding through the countryside, Miguel asks if the search is still on. Rain confirms the Knights are probably going to keep expanding the search area for a while. Rain drops some real talk about how messy things are back at the headquarters. She warns that even if Lisa shows up, the political mess means she might not get a warm welcome. Rain is just guessing, but if Lisa still isn't found, things are going to change at the top. The reality of a new appointment finally hits our boy, and it is a heavy concept to process. Rain asks if it is an official change of command, and Miguel explains it will probably be one of the vice commanders. Marvel is a genius in magic and strategy, while Claire is known as the best sword user in the land. The final choice is decided by a vote. Rain wants to know which candidate Miguel would support, and he already has a favorite. He is Team Marvel because the man is a kind father who would lead the Knights well. Claire is a beast in battle, but her strict personality is a bit much for him. With all the paperwork and procedures, this appointment is going to take forever. Rain wonders if the rest of the squad is thinking the same thing. The Knight Commander is the strongest person in the entire nation. Basically, they are the ultimate weapon that every country keeps in their back pocket. As the core of the nation, that seat is a symbol of total strength. But with Liena missing, that position has been sitting vacant for way too long. Rain explains that without a commander, the Ardian Kingdom is wide open. They currently have zero deterrence against any other nations that might want to make a move. Miguel tries to cope by saying the role is probably just symbolic anyway. Rain is not having it and warns him that they really cannot afford to take this situation lightly. As they ride through the woods, Miguel suddenly catches a scent in the air. He stops in his tracks and asks what that strange smell is. The vibe shifts instantly when he realizes he is smelling burning wood. He looks over the tree line and sees thick black smoke rising into the sky. They arrive to find the village in absolute ruins with survivors scattered among the wreckage. Before they can even process the carnage, a voice calls out asking if they are knights. Miguel finds a survivor in the ruins and loses it. He screams for anyone to help the old man who can barely breathe under the heavy wreckage. Rain does not hesitate for a second as she takes charge of the chaos. She tells the survivors to bring more injured to her while she starts the medical work. She gets to work using her magic to stabilize his breathing. The old man is stunned to see a knight helping him, but she just wants to know who caused all this destruction. The truth is worse than they imagined. A mysterious knight in pitch-black armor led a squad through the village like a passing natural disaster. This confirms Miguel's worst fears about a foreign invasion finally beginning. If the attackers are heading east, the next village is already in their crosshairs. Our boy cannot just sit around while people are in danger. He shouts a quick instruction to Rain and sprints off toward the next target before she can even stop him. Every second counts while the damage continues to spread. He wonders where the heavy hitters like Claire and Marvel are because they should have been here by now. Miguel is scrambling through the ruins, struggling to make sense of the carnage around him. He can't believe the destruction has reached this far and grits his teeth as the gravity of the situation hits. His blood runs cold when he sees a metal gauntlet lifting the severed head of Vice Commander Marvel from the dirt. He can barely whisper the name of his superior while the reality of their defeat sets in. From a nearby balcony, one of the invaders calls for the squad to assemble as they look over the horrific scene below. The ground is a graveyard of over 100 Ardian knights who were slaughtered where they stood. One of the attackers checks a pocket watch with chilling professionalism. They just wiped out an entire unit in 13 minutes, and they are treating the result like a routine drill. The squad is actually disappointed in their performance because they missed their 10-minute benchmark by 3 whole minutes. These guys are treating an entire massacre like a failed speedrun. Miguel can only watch from the shadows, paralyzed with fear as the invaders casually step on the remains of his fallen comrades. Their leader is genuinely annoyed that the mission didn't go perfectly. Claire, the squad's commander, vents her frustration while pinning a survivor to the dirt with her boot. To her, this wasn't a life or death battle. It was just a disappointing waste of time. The invaders treat the massacre like a math problem, dismissively noting a small delay while the vice commander lies broken on the ground. Miguel finally crashes the party and tells the girl to back off, but his hero moment only gets him a confused look. Claire is low-key pressed that she has to ruin her perfect streak for one last night. She casually tells her squad to update the casualty list to 107 while our boy just shakes in his boots. A heavy scaly tail whips out of nowhere and slams Miguel into a wall before he can even blink. Claire looks down at him, frustrated that the high-quality gear is keeping him breathing just to spite her record. Her eyes stay glued to her timer as she watches the seconds crawl past the 13-minute mark. Gasping for air, Miguel can barely process that he was just hit by a physical tail instead of a magic spell. Miguel is struggling to even process what just happened. This is not magic or swordplay. It is a lethal fighting style he has never seen before. He looks out over the field, unable to believe the elite Ardian knights were wiped out this easily. Claire stands tall over the massacre, her tail swaying as the sole victor. Gritting his teeth, Miguel demands to know why she has been obsessing over numbers this whole time. Claire just blinks, looking genuinely confused by the question. She clarifies that she is simply timing the slaughter. To her, this massacre is just data on how long it takes to crush their enemies. She explains that a faster, clear time proves their unit is superior to their bosses. Miguel stays silent, his hand tightening around the hilt of his blade. Our boy finds his second wind and stands his ground. He declares that Ardian knights are not weak, and he will hold her off for as long as he can. Claire looks down with a cold, disgusted smile. She admits that she hates prideful people who have nothing to brag about except their history. Claire is moving at light speed. She mocks the knight, claiming his death won't even take 2 seconds or change her perfect record. Miguel puts his life on the line for one final attack. Claire's focus breaks when a massive magic circle starts glowing under her feet. Shock takes over her cold expression. The trap is triggered with a sharp command. Claire looks down in disbelief as the magic circle begins to surge. The ground erupts in a massive pillar of energy. Caught in the blast, Claire is left coughing blood while the rest of the battlefield watches. Chaos spreads as the knights try to figure out what just happened. They wonder if a second wave is joining the fight. The survivors get the last word. They mock Claire for her failed mission, noting that all her data gathering was for nothing. Miguel is left gasping for air while Rain presents a way out. She holds out a solution and explains that the report he gives his bosses needs to look exactly like this. Rain strikes a pose in the aftermath and dictates her own legend. She wants the official record to say a cool, beautiful elf forced the retreat and warned everyone that the kingdom is too fearsome to attack. Aemon notices Liena focused on her gear and asks what she is up to. She does not even look up while explaining that she is just doing some quick maintenance on her sword before they hit the road. As they start their trek, Aemon asks if her blade is something special since she is so careful with it. Liena confirms it is a masterpiece that has been passed down through every generation of commanders. She admits the legendary blade probably needs the extra love after she used it to slice up that fish earlier. Even a high-tier weapon needs a good wipe down after being used for kitchen duty. This is no ordinary steel as it was actually forged with magic by the very first commander. Liena calls it a miraculous weapon, showing just how much history is packed into the blade. Aemon assumes the first commander must be a fossil from a long-forgotten era, but Liena drops a truth bomb. She casually mentions that the founder of her order is actually still alive. Our boy is having a hard time processing how someone could survive that long while being a master of both magic and the blade. He starts connecting the dots in his head about who could possibly fit that description. Aemon takes a wild guess and asks if this legendary first commander is actually an elf. Liena is impressed by his intuition and confirms that he is exactly right. This elf isn't just a veteran, she's a literal legend who served for over a century. She held the top commander spot 4 different times, basically carrying the entire nation on her back. Aemon starts putting the pieces together, realizing there can't be many dual-class elven masters out there. Liena catches him muttering, but he plays it off like a total NPC. Liena gazes out at the sea, remembering how she actually met the legend a few times back during her training days. Back then, the kingdom was in its golden age, and the 13th commander was the ultimate role model. Every kid in the barracks saw her as the perfect mix of strength and wisdom. It wasn't just simple respect, as Liena and the other trainees straight up idolized her. Her entire generation signed up for the Knights just to try and bring back those glorious days. Our boy asks what happened to such a heavy hitter, but Liena says the hero just vanished after stepping down. She has no idea where the legendary commander ended up. Liena assumes the legendary commander is off enjoying a peaceful retirement after carrying the nation for decades. Little does she know, her idol is currently out here making moves. Back in the present, Miguel is losing his mind trying to figure out who this terrifyingly powerful elf actually is. Rain just brushes him off, warning him that this village is still a danger zone. She shifts into commander mode and tells him to round up every survivor they can find. They need to get these people to a safe spot immediately. She lets him know a doctor is already on the way from the next town over. Our boy can only salute and follow her lead as she handles the situation. Claire is back on her feet, and she is definitely not a fan of being blindsided. She calls Rain a ridiculously huge elf for interfering with her mission. This girl is actually more upset about her ruined data and messy records than her own injuries. She is treating this entire massacre like a failed speedrun. Rain just smiles and tells her she really should have stayed down quietly. She readies another blast of magic, leaving the intruder absolutely terrified. Rain tries to keep it cool with a smirk, but Claire is not having it. She lunges forward with her tail, shouting that she won't fall for the same magic tricks twice. Rain just stays calm, explaining that magic has too many conditions to be truly perfect. Claire gets right in her face with a jagged shark-like grin. She mocks the idea of magic circles, saying even a tiny bit of damage makes them useless. According to her, there is a reason swords are still the meta after all these centuries. Our villain is losing it now, looking unhinged as she stares down her opponent. She is convinced that once you figure out the trick, magic is garbage compared to a good old blade. Claire leaps into the air and sets a timer, promising to end this whole fight in just 30 seconds. Rain flashes a chilling smile and admits that she actually agrees with everything Claire just said. Before the invader can even react, she unleashes a relentless barrage of attacks that sends her flying. She tells her that all that logic and strategy does not mean anything when there is a significant gap in raw power. Claire can only scream as she gets overwhelmed by the sudden shift in the vibe. A dark shadow looms over the battlefield as Rain decides it is finally time to get serious. She steps through the smoke with a cold look in her eyes, letting her enemy know that she is finally ready to finish this. Rain stares down a mysterious armored figure standing in the wreckage with a monstrous bird circling overhead. She keeps her staff leveled at the intruder, not taking any chances. "Sorry, but I need you to lower your weapon." A hollow laugh echoes from the helmet as the knight explains they have already finished gathering their data. They are checking out of the mission early, treating the whole encounter like a simple business trip. Rain isn't buying the sudden retreat and lunges forward to stop him. She calls out his arrogance, refusing to let the last survivor just walk away after everything he has done. The knight's hand blurs toward his hilt, and a massive shockwave erupts as he creates distance in a split second. Earth and stone spray everywhere from the force of a single slashing attack. Rain can barely process the power gap, realizing even her magic struggles to match that kind of raw lethality. Squinting against the glare, she realizes he is using the sun to mask his positioning. The guy is playing high-level mind games, leaving her completely baffled as he hovers in the light. The masked knight reveals his true hand as magic circles erupt from his palms. Rain freezes, realizing that whole sword draw was just a calculated feint. Standing amidst the ruins, Rain wonders what the point of all this was. It all clicks when she remembers the building that collapsed earlier. With a burst of magic, the knight shatters the remaining debris to clear his exit. He looks up to see his monstrous bird circling for a pickup. He confirms the status as the beast grabs him and takes to the skies. According to him, the situation has finally been subdued. The ground is littered with fallen soldiers, a grim reminder that over half the unit was wiped out. They are pulling out now, following protocol to the letter. The knight stays cold, admitting he is ready to face the music for the mission outcome. Out of nowhere, a heavy strike slams directly into his face. The sky explodes as the knight takes a massive hit right to the head. From under the rubble, a hand reaches out and a voice calls for attention. Rain is left speechless, wondering how anyone could survive taking that kind of impact straight to the face. Rain looks down at the wreckage with a smirk. "You're a tough one," she admits, clearly impressed by how much punishment this guy can actually tank. The knight's helmet rattles as he throws the praise right back at her. Rain isn't planning on letting him leave, though, promising to strip that mask off and drag him to the capital for a very long talk. The knight remains completely unfazed by her threats. He casually informs her that her only real option is to just stand there and watch him escape. The black mask finally shatters into shards, and as Rain catches a piece of it, a memory floods back. She recalls him standing at a doorway, explaining that he had to leave because staying would only cause trouble for everyone. In the memory, he gives a final wave and thanks Ray for everything before heading out. Back in the present, Rain stands frozen as she stares at the face behind the broken armor and barely manages to whisper Amon's name. Back at the village, the cleanup is looking pretty grim. Medics are working double time to patch up the survivors, including Miguel, who's currently wrapped in more bandages than a mummy after his run-in with the invaders. The chaos doesn't stop as more wounded keep pouring in. The head doctor is glad for the survivors, but the mood takes a nosedive when one of the soldiers suddenly starts smoking and lets out a scream. It turns out these survivors are walking traps. Amon reveals that every single one of them has a self-destruct magic circle built into their bodies, and they've already started the countdown. Amon casually taunts Rain, telling her a top-tier mage like her should be able to dampen the blast at least a little bit. He starts flying away on his bird, but he's not done dropping news yet. He reveals that they intentionally left half the people breathing just for this moment. Rain's eyes go wide as she realizes the huge scale of the disaster she has to stop. Amon actually has the audacity to say she should be thanking him for the opportunity to be a savior. Rain screams that he's a monster, but she's forced to watch him dip while the first few victims start to ignite. Amon's last words echo as he calls her a hero if she manages to pull this off. Then, the entire horizon lights up as a fierce magical blast illuminates the night sky. Claire wakes up in a wasteland, forced to stare at the remains of her failed mission. Amon is already back to business, telling her he handled the retreat report while she was busy sleeping. High up on a jagged peak, Amon confirms the unit took a 50% loss, making a retreat their only option. The weight of the failure is setting in, and she is pinning every bit of blame on that meddling elf. Her soldiers are already itching for a comeback, but the frustration is keeping her pinned to the spot. She tries to argue that the kingdom is still vulnerable, but Amon shuts her down before she can even finish the thought. Amon is not offering a suggestion, he is laying down the law about following orders from the top. Amon drops the coldest news possible, telling Claire he is following orders to take her out. She can barely process what she just heard. The rules were simple: retreat if half the unit goes down. But Claire completely blew it. She lost twice to a random elf, and now her own leader is throwing her failure back in her face. The higher-ups have already made their decision. Claire is officially labeled as defective, and her execution order is already live. Amon claims this is actually an act of mercy. Instead of blowing her up in some remote mountain, he is going to finish the job personally. Total desperation kicks in as our girl begs for her life, claiming she can still be useful. She insists she was the most valuable member of the entire unit. She keeps rambling about her perfect record and how she never once betrayed the mission. Every task was finished exactly how they wanted it. Even with the end staring her in the face, she still believes she was doing everything for the sake of her nation. Amon stays silent, watching her break down. Claire is absolutely breaking down, realizing she is being tossed aside like a broken gadget. She cannot believe her loyalty is being rewarded with a death sentence. Desperate for one last chance, she begs for just 30 minutes to prove her worth and take down that elf. Amon does not even look back as he keeps walking away. Cold as ice, Amon decides he is done wasting time and sends her flying off the cliff edge with a final thank you. He has a schedule to keep, and her failure is dragging him down. As Claire plummets toward the ground, he gives her one last bit of praise for her service. It is a brutal end for someone who gave everything to the cause. Back then, before she was an elite squad leader, she was just another kid being told that time is everything. Every recruit is handed a pocket watch as their first piece of gear. The commander makes it clear that this watch is not just a tool, it is something they need to etch into their very souls. It represents the strict discipline they will live by from now on. A group of homeless kids listens as they are offered a roof and a meal in exchange for absolute loyalty. For them, it is a better deal than starving on the streets. Survival here is tied to a stopwatch. Fail to keep up with the time, and it is back to scavenging garbage for your next meal. Lily Salome pulls off a win at 1 minute and 36 seconds. But in this unit, winning is only half the battle. She is riding a high after beating a senior recruit. This girl is genuinely stoked to be outperforming the older kids. The reality check is brutal, since she went 36 seconds over the target time. The commander labels her as useless trash to be discarded. Her whole life was spent terrified of a ticking second hand. Living in constant fear made every minute feel like an absolute eternity. As she plummets toward her end, her final wish is simple. If there is a next life, she wants to forget the passage of time. And finally, just live life slowly. Lisa spots a figure lying in the wreckage and shouts for our boy to hurry over. Even with a deep gash across her chest, the survivor manages to let out a weak chuckle. Claire looks up at the faces of the people who finally ended her run. The Ardean Knight and our boy are the last things she sees as she struggles to breathe. A bloody smile spreads across her face as the grim realization hits home. Seeing these two can only mean one thing: she really did fall straight into hell. The scene opens in a wasteland of shattered ruins where Eamon and Lisa have tracked down the fallen survivor. Lisa looks at the body in horror and asks if she is even still breathing after taking such terrible injuries. Lisa turns to Amon with a panicked expression and begs him to start healing the girl immediately. Amon looks stressed but promises to give it his best shot even though the vibe is looking pretty grim. Eamon points out that the footing in these ruins is way too unstable to perform any kind of magic surgery. He suggests they carry her down to level ground before they even try to start the healing process. Out of nowhere, a massive scaly tail swings through the air and smashes the rubble to pieces. Our duo barely manages to dodge as the ground beneath them literally explodes into splinters. Amon and Lisa scramble back in shock as they realize their patient is awake and ready for round 2. Claire glares at them from the ruins, fully convinced that she has finally reached the afterlife. Covered in blood and looking absolutely feral, Claire asks what kind of torture they have in store for her. She is fully prepared for them to tear her to pieces on a mountain of needles. Amon quickly throws his hands up to show he is not looking for a fight. He tells her to chill out because they are definitely not in hell, and nobody is planning to hang her anywhere. Amon tries to keep his cool while dropping the bombshell that she was dragon food. He just wants to help, but the vibe is getting complicated. Claire looks completely lost as the memory of her defeat flashes back. She can't wrap her head around the idea of being swallowed by a dragon. Negotiating is officially over as a massive tail comes swinging through the ruins. Claire isn't buying the good guy act and starts swinging for the fences. Amon is practically begging her to just sit still for 5 seconds. He points out that he wouldn't be wasting his time healing her if he were actually a demon. The trauma is running way too deep as Claire screams that this is just another form of torture. Amon realizes she is too far gone to listen to reason right now. The girl is bleeding out but refuses to stop fighting. She spits back that his concern means nothing after he was the one who threw her off the cliff. Suddenly, the air gets heavy as a massive magic circle erupts from her chest. The look on her face says it all. Something very bad is about to happen. Claire's face is drenched in sweat as a magic circle on her chest starts ticking like a countdown. She stares in horror as the spell activates all on its own. Her vision blurs as a cold, familiar voice echoes in her mind. It tells her to listen closely to the terms of her service. Flashback to the day they were all turned into human bombs. The recruits were told their lives belonged to the squad leader the moment the circles were engraved. The rules were simple: break the protocol or try to desert and you get blown to pieces. They were reminded every day that those who disappoint the unit have no right to live. Back in the ruins, the magic circle on her chest starts crackling with dangerous energy. Amon realizes the situation is critical and tells Lisa to get back. Claire screams as the magical seals begin to tear her apart from the inside. She curses her own weakness, feeling like a pathetic failure as the end approaches. The harsh reality hits that she was only ever a disposable tool for her masters. As she collapses, Amon reaches out toward her. Claire is barely hanging on as blood drips from her mouth. Amon keeps his cool and holds her close, promising that everything is going to be fine while his hand begins to glow over the ticking bomb on her chest. Our boy gives her a reassuring look, telling her he won't let her die. He gets to work as a massive network of magic circles expands across the entire area. Claire is speechless at what she's seeing, and Lisa is just as confused. Amon explains that he didn't break the seal, he just re-expanded it to buy them some time. He breaks it down like a pro, explaining that magic circles are just layers of formulas stacked together. If he can just peel them back one by one, the whole thing will stop being a threat. Trying to force it would just set the bomb off early. This job needs a surgical touch and zero mistakes. He realizes he can't do this alone and asks Lisa for a hand. She's ready to jump in the moment he gives the word. Things take a weird turn when he asks her to go grab some yellow and purple fruit from the orchard. Lisa doesn't even question the logic and takes off running to get the supplies. Claire is absolutely losing it over the idea of using fruit to stop a magic circle. Our boy just keeps it 100 and admits the whole fruit story was a total lie. He just wanted to get Lisa as far away from the blast zone as possible. She could not do anything to help here anyway, so he cleared the area. Claire is stunned by the sheer audacity of this man. Eamon stays cool, figuring if things go south, it is better if only the two of them take the hit. He calls her out as a soldier from the Duchy of Dal. Claire realizes that while he looks like a captain, his presence is something else entirely. One look at her injuries, and he has already pieced the puzzle together. She was not taken down by an enemy. Her own teammates were the ones who cut her down. He guesses she failed her mission and got tossed out like a broken tool. Claire can only manage a weak laugh at how easily he read her situation. She tells him that if he is smart enough to realize all that, he is a massive idiot for staying. Eamon is left wondering exactly what she means. This magic circle is on a different level. With 10 seconds left on the clock, taking it apart seems impossible. Years of research went into this refined nightmare. It was the Duchy's ultimate tool for keeping soldiers in line through fear. Every layer of the spell is a unique mess of secret Duchy magic. She has accepted that there is no way out of this. Ammon identifies the foundation immediately. It is core expansion magic. Back in the day, this spell was actually meant to keep people warm in freezing facilities. It was born from pure goodwill. Having his work repurposed into a human bomb is a heavy hit. This is the one thing he regrets more than anything. The clock keeps ticking as the past finally catches up. Maybe there's a reason fate brought her here today. Eamon locks in with a heavy promise. He is going all out to keep her alive. The magic circle finally hits its limit, sending shards of light everywhere as the spell breaks apart. Claire is left in total shock that she is still breathing. Eamon collapses from the effort, thankful he is not about to go boom. Our boy finally drops the name reveal. He is Amon, and he actually lives in this dump. He welcomes her to the weirdest roommate situation ever. They are currently chilling inside a literal dragon stomach. Amon figures this mountain of trash is the safest spot for her. Meanwhile, Lisa is heading back to the base with some groceries. Years ago, a young Lily Salome is pushed to her limit during a brutal training session in the rain. She stops in her tracks when she sees another trainee collapse on the stone steps, clutching a broken leg. In this ruthless military school, failing a trial means getting tossed out like trash. Lily knows that with an injury this bad, the girl has already lost her spot in the unit. Instead of securing her own lead, Lily puts the girl on her back and starts carrying her down. When the girl asks why she is helping, Lily just says it is because she has the strength to do it. She claims a tiny drop in her score will not matter since she is already #1 in every category. It is a total flex, but she is basically telling the girl that her help is a freebie. The girl is completely shocked by Lily's hidden soft side. She heard the rumors about her being overconfident, but she admits Lily is actually surprisingly kind-hearted. They keep moving through the storm, one step at a time. Lily tells her to stop apologizing, blaming the slippery steps instead of the girl's heavy weight. She looks out at the endless gloom with a tired expression. This country is nothing but clouds and rain, and it is starting to get really depressing. Claire wakes up from a dream about finally seeing the sun. She looks down at her bandaged body, realizing she is far from the battlefield. Sitting up in the quiet room, she tries to make sense of where she is. Everything feels too calm and still. She touches the bandages on her chest and realizes the massive wound has already closed up. It makes her wonder if that guy Amon was the one who performed the surgery. A note from Amon says he took her armor off because it looked uncomfortable for sleeping. Her equipment is just sitting in the corner like a piece of abandoned luggage. Looking at the ports on her own back, she realizes her tail was actually detachable. The discovery leaves her completely stunned. Claire jumps when the door opens and a girl walks in with a fresh set of clothes. She mentions that Lily seems to be recovering pretty fast. The girl introduces herself as Lisa Liena with a warm smile. Since Eamon already shared her name, she figured it was time for a proper meeting. Lisa offers some fresh clothes, but Claire is already trying to back out of the deal. She is clearly not used to people being this nice for no reason. Lisa isn't taking no for an answer and tells her the clothes were just collecting dust anyway. One quick wardrobe change later and the new fit is looking like a total success. Claire decides to rock the oversized hoodie look and skips the pants entirely. As long as her wound is covered, she is perfectly fine with the minimalist vibe. Lisa is already on the move, dragging a confused Claire along for the ride. The reality of living inside a giant stomach is finally starting to set in. With Amon tied up with work, Lisa takes it upon herself to show her the ropes. It is time for the official orientation of their dragon home. The dragon's interior is a wild mix of massive libraries and literal piles of junk. It is definitely not what you would expect from the inside of a monster. Lisa reveals the cornerstone of their food supply, which turns out to be a bunch of chickens. Claire looks like she has never seen anything more chaotic in her entire life. Lisa shows off the farm next. She presents the rows of crops with a lot of energy. Claire is stunned by the variety of greens. She asks if they really have plants from all over the world in this place. A small bridge crosses a stream of clean gastric fluid. Lisa explains they moved the garden here to give the plants more space. Amon is the one who keeps expanding the territory. He wants to make sure there is room for everyone who ends up here. Claire realizes Amon is a genius who leaves nothing to chance. Food is not a concern with him around, but her vibe starts to shift. Watching Lisa ramble, a single question starts to form. She wonders what exactly this girl actually contributes to the house. Lisa cannot stop talking about how Amon is behind every single thing in the house. This leads Claire to a very specific realization about who is actually doing the work. Lisa admits she is basically just living her best life as a professional freeloader while Amon does all the heavy lifting. The commander drags a very annoyed Claire to the final stop of the grand tour, which turns out to be her top-tier secret hideout. It is a sunny little paradise that she calls the Fluffy Grass Zone. Claire is lost on how a patch of grass can be a tourist attraction, but her guide is sticking to her guns. This patch of land was actually a piece of earth that fell from above and was replanted by the duo. Flumping onto the ground, Lisa promises it is the softest spot in the world. Since there's nothing to do until the next scavenging run, the advice is for the former soldier to loosen up. Claire is not feeling the vibe and tries to pass on the offer. Lisa keeps pushing, telling her to just do as the locals do for once. A deal is offered where they can leave if the experience is actually bad. Claire finally folds under the pressure and decides to give the grass a chance. Lisa is clearly winning this argument as she repeats her when in Rome logic. They both lie back and stare at the ceiling. To her complete surprise, Claire realizes the ground actually feels as soft as Lisa promised. Lisa points out how the breeze flows perfectly through the openings in the dragon. It creates a relaxing atmosphere that even a jaded soldier can't help but enjoy. Hearing Lisa list off the perfect conditions for a nap, Claire finds herself repeating the words in her head. The simple combo of grass and sunlight is starting to affect her. The peaceful vibe makes Claire realize just how miserable her home country really was. She spent her whole life under clouds and rain only to find peace inside a giant monster. A memory of Amon flashes back, reminding her of the time he promised this place would be safe for her. She didn't buy it at first, but the reality is finally starting to sink in. Looking up at the sky with a calm expression, Claire finally accepts her new reality. She understands the weight of that promise now and lets herself fully relax. Claire stares at the sky and admits her homeland was a dump where clear skies were a myth. It was just a constant cycle of rain or gross pollution from the country. She can't believe she's actually catching rays inside a giant monster. Lisa just smiles and is happy her new roommate is finally feeling the vibe. Back at the house, Amon wanders around calling for Lisa with a tray of tea. He enters the room only to find it vacant. Panic sets in when he realizes Claire is missing from her bed too. He starts spiraling and wonders if letting a ruthless soldier stay with them was a mistake. His imagination goes off the rails as he pictures Claire roasting poor Lisa over a campfire. The intrusive thoughts are hitting hard and he can almost hear her threatening to skin his friend alive. Our boy realizes he got way too comfortable in this paradise and forgot how dangerous people can be. He's convinced a soldier from the Duchy of Dal is capable of anything. Amon hauls it through the forest and calls out for Lisa while gasping for air. He's terrified of what he might find and just prays she's still safe. Amon finally tracks them down only to find the girls taking a nap in the grass. He stands there stunned that the two of them are actually vibing together. He notices Claire is already back in dreamland even though she just woke up. Our boy takes a moment to process how she already hit the reset button. Standing over them, he concludes that physical rest and mental peace are two very different things. Sometimes the brain just needs to shut down to survive the stress. Amon wraps up the gardening and thinks about dinner while the girls are still taking their nap. He stops in his tracks when he notices something weird in the dirt. A massive hole has been dug in the middle of his garden. He looks at the messed up soil and wonders what could have possibly made a crater this size. Our boy stares into the dark pit, questioning if he was the one who dug it up. It is a huge hole, but he has absolutely no memory of making it. He decides to just walk away and focus on his other chores. He figures that the memory will eventually come back to him while he is working. He concludes that if he forgot about it, it probably was not that important. Little does he know, a massive carnivorous plant is looming right over the girls. Claire wakes up to find the monster inches from her face. She stays frozen and asks Liena if they keep any pets in here, hoping the thing is just a tame creature. The monster repeats her words and lets out a massive roar. Claire panics as she tries to wake Liena up, but the lazy knight is still half asleep. Lisa spots a weird-looking seed in a hole and asks Ammon what he is planting. He explains it is a special plant designed to eat the bugs around the farm, which sounds like a total win for their garden. Ammon takes a closer look and realizes the color is slightly off compared to his research books. While the shape is a match, he has a tiny bit of doubt, but Lisa just shrugs it off with a casual reaction. Our boy decides to lean into the chaos and jokes that it might actually be a man-eating plant. Lisa is not here for the trolling and tells him to stop scaring her. Flash forward to the present, and Ammon's joke has become a literal nightmare as the seed grows into a massive carnivorous monster. Claire has to snap Lisa out of her trance before the duo ends up as appetizers. Lisa panics and asks if every day in this dragon's stomach is this cursed, realizing even for this place a giant plant is rare. Claire stays cool, mentioning she once fought a mutant fish that grew its own limbs. Claire casually drops the bombshell that the mutant fish she fought was actually delicious. Lisa is absolutely horrified that her first instinct is to rate the monster as a 5-star meal. The girls realize that for a chaotic guy like Amon, eating monsters is probably just a regular Tuesday. Claire has to admit that this level of absolute madness fits his vibe perfectly. Claire realizes the plant is winding up for a major attack. She shouts for Lisa to find cover as the beast enters an aggressive stance. The monster bites straight through a tree, melting the wood instantly. Lisa watches the sizzling trunk in horror as Claire curses their luck. It turns out the saliva is packed with concentrated mana designed to digest anything. Claire admits this has become a serious problem while Lisa can only tremble in silence. While facing certain death, Lisa starts taking off her slippers so they do not get dirty. Claire stares at her in disbelief, wondering how she ended up with such a useless ally in a crisis. Claire tries to focus, but she realizes that a lazy partner is actually the smallest of her problems. Her main weapon, her detachable tail, is still hanging on a wall back in her room. Most of her training was against humans, and she is not prepared to fight a giant beast with her bare hands. The monster slams into the trees as the girls scramble to dodge. Claire yells for Lisa to stay back, warning her that a single drop of that acid will melt them both. Claire orders Lisa to find Amon, hoping his magic can tame the beast while she stays to buy time. Claire focuses on stalling the monster as Lisa realizes she left her sword at base and cannot leave her friend alone. Standing her ground, Lisa prepares to make a move. Desperate for any advantage, Claire dives for a farming hoe since it is better than nothing. Her plan backfires as a massive vine snatches her out of the air. The beast dangles her like a snack, proving it has more reach than she anticipated. The vines dig into her wounds and drain her strength until she is too weak to fight back. Claire completely gives up as the monster prepares for a snack. She thinks it is a joke that she survived a dragon just to get eaten inside its stomach. Lisa is not about to let her friend die and charges right into the danger zone. She apologizes for the interruption but refuses to let an injured person fight alone. Forget finding Emmon for help. Lisa decides it is much faster to just handle this beast with her own 2 hands. Claire screams for her to stop before they both end up dead. She calls our MC a total idiot for being this reckless. Everything moves in slow motion as Claire tries to process what she is seeing. Her thoughts are a tangled mess while she watches Lisa move. Lisa is gone in a flash, leaving nothing but a massive crater in the ground. It is as if a giant monster was standing there just moments ago. Our girl launches herself straight at the beast. She is really about to take on a giant monster with 0 weapons. Claire is actually stunned. She can't believe our girl is charging a giant monster with 0 gear. There has to be a secret plan or a hidden weapon in her hand. No one runs in like this without having a huge ace up their sleeve. The secret weapon powerful enough to take down a beast finally reveals itself. It turns out she is just using a plain simple fist. Flashback to the academy days. An instructor asks the class to imagine themselves as a knight commander on a brutal battlefield. The scenario is a total nightmare. No weapons, no magic, and a horde of enemies closing in on your wounded squad. She asks the room how they would lead through the chaos. One student is already ready with a cold, calculated answer. Claire stands up and calls for an immediate retreat. Her plan is to use mobile units to evacuate the wounded while the strongest fighters stall the enemy. The rest of the class is stunned by her instant response. This girl clearly has tactical genius in her blood. The teacher praises her for choosing survival over a pointless death. In this scenario, saving lives is the only victory that counts. A young Lisa looks on, totally fangirling over how cool her friend is. For Claire, being this cracked at tactics is just another day at the office. The instructor scans the room for one last victim and points right at our girl. Lisa is totally blindsided. "What is your move in this nightmare scenario?" the teacher asks. Claire tries to keep her from folding under the pressure. Total system failure. She knows there is 0 chance she can drop a tactical masterclass like Claire. She tries to lock in and visualize herself as a real commander. If she can stay calm, maybe she can survive this. In her head, she is already the leader of the kingdom. She is ready to carry the entire weight of the nation. No magic, and her gear is gone. She clenches her fist as the enemies close in on her wounded squad. I still have my fists. She shouts at the top of her lungs. She is going to start swinging just to buy her squad enough time to escape. Our girl is crying her eyes out but feeling proud because she finally managed to speak up. A few kids are already snickering in the background while others are just plain confused by her outburst. The classroom is in shambles after hearing her strategy was basically just throwing hands. They cannot believe someone this thoughtless actually wants to lead the kingdom one day. She is totally folding under the pressure and starts apologizing through her tears. No matter how much she tries to visualize a complex plan, her brain just defaults to punching her way out. Everything changes when the Knight Commander herself steps in and kneels down to her level. She gives our girl the ultimate respect by calling her answer sincere and admirable. Claire is completely shook by how fast she moved. The commander was just at the podium a second ago, and now she is right there in the middle of the stands. The commander admits that using fists against magic is a tactical disaster. However, she knows that when things get truly desperate, a real leader has to do whatever it takes to survive. This legend keeps it 100 and says she would probably end up charging in to punch the enemies too. Hearing that even the best would do the same gives our girl a whole new perspective on what it means to lead. Years ago, the commander dropped some cold hard truth, telling her that if she really wants to protect people with nothing but her hands, she has to put in the work. She tells the kid to ignore the haters and keep pushing because there is zero time to feel sorry for herself. The lecture wraps up and the commander heads out, leaving our girl more motivated than ever to succeed. Even then, she realized she was still nowhere near that level of magic and power. Clenching her fist with tears in her eyes, she promised herself that she would keep trying until she reached the top. Back in the present, she stands her ground against the monster, finally ready to become the protector she always wanted to be. She cracks a smile as she feels the power surging back into her limbs, realizing that maybe that nap was exactly what she needed. Lisa stands on top of the monster and gives it a stern warning. She says she does not mind if it lives in the dragon, but it has to follow the house rules. Her eyes are focused as she delivers a cold promise. She tells the plant that neither she nor Claire are going to end up as its dinner. She threatens to turn its vines into a hammock if it ever attacks again. Claire is completely stunned, watching the person she thought was useless act like a total beast. Standing on business, she finishes the job without using any magic. She just beat a massive monster senseless, using nothing but her bare hands. After clapping the creature, she casually starts walking back. She honestly believes that a harsh lecture is enough to keep it from causing more trouble. Claire is still processing everything and finally asks what her real deal is. Lisa realizes she never actually explained her former high-ranking position. With a confident wink, she finally reveals the truth. She is not just some random girl. She is the actual head of the Knight Order and the legendary Knight Commander. Claire looks totally drained, realizing she is officially a ghost in the eyes of her kingdom. She admits that her former role was mostly just for show anyway. Memories of her rescue start flooding back, reminding her of the moment they found her broken body. She specifically recalls the face of the knight who supposedly took her out. Being inside the dragon made her lose sight of the most important things from her past. A faint memory of someone calling her name, Lily, begins to resurface. Lisa tries to offer a shoulder to lean on, wanting to get her back to safety. Claire just snaps and tells her to stop right there. Dropping to her knees, she insists that she does not want any help. She honestly believes that she was never meant to be saved from her fate. Lisa is caught off guard by the name Lily, looking completely puzzled. Claire stares at the ground and says she is truly sorry for everything that happened in the outside world. Lisa brings up the Ardian Kingdom once more. The mere mention of it brings a cold, sharp focus back to Claire's eyes. Back at the Ardian Kingdom, the vibe is already down bad. Someone is calling it a terrible day before things even get started. Meet the acting commander, a man currently losing his mind while packing his bags. With the enemy attacking and cities exploding, he is convinced the country is cooked. He is not about to stick around and get beheaded for this disaster. The dude would rather skip town than take the fall for a losing war. Luggage in hand, he prepares to vanish and lie low for a while. He whispers a quick apology to the country before heading for the exit. The second he opens the door, he runs straight into a welcoming committee. Rain Valstein is standing there with a squad of knights, and they do not look happy to see him leaving. She notices the massive backpack and asks if he is planning a little trip. Our boy is caught in 4K trying to flee the scene. Her expression goes cold as she orders him to get back inside. It is time for a very long talk that he definitely will not enjoy. Lily is completely crushed by her own guilt. Kneeling before our MC, she apologizes for the invasion and begs for a quick death by her hands. We get a quick briefing on the town disaster. A sudden ambush and a massive explosion nearly turned everything into a bloodbath before a mystery hero stepped in. This high-ranking official is absolutely floored. He never expected the legendary first commander to show up and personally handle the crisis. He gushes over her bravery for shielding the citizens with her own body, officially hailing her as the guardian of Ardian. Another win for the history books. Her heroic intervention is cemented as a founding legend during the official report. Miguel is stunned to learn that Ray is actually a living legend. Claire just gives him a look like he is the only one who did not know. She admits she always felt a crazy amount of power from her. Turns out she was just too young to witness the peak of Rain's legendary era. The acting commander actually has the nerve to complain. He claims that Rain's sudden intervention stole his big moment to shine. He casually sips his tea while spinning a wild story about his supposed tactical master plan. Rain just watches him, knowing every word is a total lie. Her eyes lock onto his massive backpack, which is stuffed so full it looks ready to burst. Nobody brings that much luggage into a real battle. The truth is obvious. This man was never heading for the front lines. He was preparing to abandon everyone and flee to another country. It is always the same story with guys like this. The moment danger levels spike, they immediately try to run from every bit of responsibility. Rain falls into a deep moment of self-reflection. She hates how she always seems to stand there helplessly whenever the stakes are actually high. Elsewhere, we jump back a few months to when the trouble first started. A high-ranking official is stunned when someone offers to help handle the Knight Commander's impossible workload. Marvel and Claire are straight up pleading for Lisa's health. They point out she hasn't even been home for weeks because the workload is so insane. Our girl looks like a total ghost. If they keep pushing her like this, she won't be able to function when the kingdom actually needs her. Trying to help out, Claire offers to take over some of the work. The official shuts her down instantly, dropping a denied before she can even finish the thought. Meet the squad members actually trying to help. Vice Commanders Claire and Marvel are clearly the only ones who care about their leader's well-being. This boss guy is a total hater. He mocks their titles, asking why anyone with Vice in their name would ever be trusted to sign important documents. The official snaps back, claiming every task on Lisa's plate is too important for anyone else to handle. Claire counters, suggesting that maybe the people in charge just need to plan better. He points at his own mountain of paperwork to make it seem like he is just as swamped. Bro really tried to play the victim card while Lisa is literally at her limit. The boss is officially done with everyone. He tells his subordinates to stop wasting his time and basically kicks them out of the room. Completely defeated, Claire offers a quiet apology before walking away. She is beating herself up for being useless in this situation. Marvel tries to keep their spirits up as they head back to work late into the night. Their main goal is to finish their own tasks without adding more to Lisa's plate. Elsewhere, we see the real struggle. Lisa is drowning in paperwork and questioning why she's processing vacation requests for everyone except herself. Suddenly, Claire appears in the doorway. She roasts Lisa for being careless and leaving the door wide open while she grinds through the night. Lisa's face lights up the moment she spots her friend. They share a quiet moment over the endless mountain of tasks, even if the vibes are still totally drained. Our girl tries to cope by repeating what her boss told her. She handles the heavy workload by convincing herself that a busy office means the kingdom is actually vibing in peace. Claire is losing it, snapping at the commander for his zero-effort responses. Lisa just stares back with dead eyes, agreeing that she is pretty much useless right now. Our girl is clearly at her breaking point, her hand trembling as she tries to hold it together. She suggests a quick break to get some air or a nap, promising to wake her friend up later. Back to the mustached hater who is officially done with the conversation. He tells them to stop wasting his time and get back to work because he has zero patience for subordinates. Claire watches from a distance as Lisa heads back into the grind. The air between them is heavy with everything they can not change. Claire tells her to hang in there and make sure she actually eats something for once. Lisa flashes a tired smile, thanking her friend for the rare bit of kindness in this office hellscape. Time jump to a few days later and the worst-case scenario finally happens. Lisa has completely vanished from the kingdom. Looking back, Claire realized anyone else would have quit much sooner. She cannot even find it in herself to blame her for running away. The kingdom was collapsing as soldiers fell on every front. Even through the mistreatment and the losing war, they kept fighting. Claire stands defeated with her arm in a sling, haunted by her inability to find a way out. All she can do is stand there and watch the chaos unfold. The superior officer looks exhausted, but his frustration quickly turns into a search for a scapegoat. He points the finger directly at Lisa, claiming she is the reason for everything going wrong. He screams her name into the air, calling her a coward for abandoning her responsibilities. To him, she is a failure who ran away when they needed her most. The commander claims her behavior spread and weakened the entire unit. He puts the responsibility for the whole mess squarely on her shoulders. The commander storms off while Miguel tries to stop him. Our boy is blindsided by the rumor that Lisa just up and left them all. Miguel suggests that the aftermath of her disappearance was the real problem, but the boss is not hearing it. He snaps back, calling the kid a traitor just for trying to defend her name. The commander is absolutely tweaking, screaming that they need to start a nationwide manhunt for Lisa immediately. He refuses to forgive her for what he calls a betrayal. Claire stares at the floor, finally realizing how much she messed up. She finally sees the truth of what she should have done a long time ago. Back then, she should have just punched this dude into the ground. She should have kept swinging until every last one of his teeth was gone. Her choice to play it safe nearly cost her both her best friend and her country. The guilt is visibly eating her alive. While Miguel clenches his fist in pure rage, Rain tries to keep the peace. She reminds Claire that she is the only leader they have left on the front lines right now. Rain warns them that attacking their own people will cause the kingdom to collapse from within. Everyone is standing on a razor-thin edge. Miguel decides he is done with the talk and delivers a heavy punch straight to the commander's face. That boss's jaw is definitely never going to be the same. The commander hits the floor hard, clutching his face in shock. He can't believe a low-ranking soldier actually had the guts to clock him. Scrambling back in terror, the boss screams that Miguel is fired and needs to be thrown in a cell. Our boy doesn't even blink, telling him that's perfectly fine. Miguel makes it clear he is done serving under a clown like this. Without Lisa around to keep things steady, the entire military has basically turned into a dumpster fire. He reminds everyone that they owe their lives to Lisa. Anyone trying to drag her name through the mud is going to have a very bad day. He doesn't care about rank anymore. If the boss keeps talking trash, Miguel is ready to throw hands until the message finally sinks in. Back at the dragon home, Lisa looks down at her own hands. She finally understands that her power is meant for protecting her friends, not for following orders from bullies. Lisa tells Claire to stand up because offering her life as an apology is going way too far. Even after everything, she can tell that her old friend is still a good person at heart. Our commander makes it clear that her fists will never be used against her friend. Taking Lily's life is something she could never do, regardless of the past. This is the moment she finally chooses her bond over her duty. Lily has officially reached her breaking point and demands that Lisa stop with the idealistic nonsense. She is absolutely spiraling and begs for her life to be ended right now since she was the one who attacked the kingdom. Lisa tries to de-escalate the situation, but her words only seem to make things worse. Lily can't wrap her head around how she is supposed to live with herself after betraying the very person who saved her. The broken soldier practically begs for a beatdown, claiming that Lisa will be the one who suffers if she doesn't get some revenge. Lisa refuses to give in and makes it clear that enough suffering has already happened. There is no reason to throw another punch in Lisa's eyes. The former squad leader is left speechless and trembling as the reality of total forgiveness starts to sink in. Still struggling to accept the kindness, Lily grabs her friend and calls the whole thing empty idealism. She is still haunted by the weight of her choices and can't see any way back to how things used to be. The insecurity is deep as she asks how she could ever possibly stand alongside someone like Lisa again. Our MC just listens to the heartbreaking confession with a quiet, understanding presence. Since Lily is so insistent on getting some kind of punishment, Lisa finally finds a middle ground. She raises a finger and tells her that a simple flick to the forehead will be more than enough to settle the score. A simple flick to the forehead sends Lily tumbling backward. This is the power of someone who knocks out monsters with her bare hands. Getting rocked by a finger flick is a total reality check. Lisa decides to save the rest of the punishment for after they escape the dragon. Lisa drops a massive bombshell, inviting her to join the Ardian Knights. The wish is simple: protect the people of Ardian this time. Lily is absolutely speechless at the request, especially since she was recently abandoned by her own kingdom. Lily argues that an enemy soldier would never be allowed in, but Lisa reminds her that she has already been cast out by her superiors. Technically, that makes her a stateless wanderer. Dealing with the paperwork for someone without a country is usually a bureaucratic nightmare. Fortunately, our girl has plenty of experience with that kind of office hell. She has been forced to handle all that tedious paperwork herself for years. The casual brush-off about treason charges leaves a heavy silence in the air. Lily still can't reconcile the image of a legendary hero with someone who spent her life as a paperwork slave. The big question finally drops: why would a war hero ever choose to rot behind a desk? Lisa practically begs her to drop it before the memories ruin her mood, then shifts back to asking what she thinks. It is time to move forward with a fresh start. Lisa lays out the plan. They work together to survive this dragon, and then Lily helps her keep the kingdom safe for real. She extends a hand to seal the deal. This isn't just about strategy. It's about giving her friend a reason to keep breathing after everything they have lost. She is reminded that Amon went through absolute hell just to make sure she survived. Lisa is radiating pure big sister energy. She makes it clear that seeing her friend move forward is worth more than any kind of petty revenge. The pure kindness of it all finally shreds through the last of her defenses. A silent realization hits as she breaks down, clenching the earth like she is trying to hold on to this new hope. Lily finally breaks and takes the hand, agreeing to head for Ardian once they escape this place. Acceptance is the first step toward a fresh start. Resolve is back in full force. She vows that the next time an enemy attacks, she will be the one risking it all to protect Lisa's people. Satisfied with the answer, Lisa drops a curveball by asking her to take care of someone named Friday. Lily is lost until she sees Lisa standing casually next to the defeated monster. Walking away from the carnage, Lily pieces it together and realizes Lisa named the plant after the day of the week. Our girl thinks the name is cute, but Lily is just confused. Elsewhere, the scene shifts to the kingdom where the castle towers loom over the city. A voice calls Miguel's recent outburst impressive. Miguel is found huddled in a corner, looking like he wants to disappear into the floor. Rain quotes his epic speech about punching superiors, but notes he went overboard with the extra hits. The reality of the situation is starting to sink in. Miguel is spiraling as he realizes he beat his commanding officer into a blackout. Miguel is straight up spiraling, convinced that prison is his best-case scenario and a death sentence is the worst. Claire breaks the tension by entering the room to report that the boss has been moved to the infirmary. She mentions that he will be awake soon before zeroing in on Miguel, who practically jumps out of his skin at the call. Looking dead serious, she tells him they need to step outside to talk. Our boy accepts his fate, convinced his career as a knight is officially over. After Rain leaves to give them some privacy, Miguel stands at attention and prepares for the hammer to drop. But instead of a lecture, Claire drops into a deep bow and hits him with a sincere apology. Miguel is venting his regrets, admitting he should have been the one to swing on that superior. He feels like a coward for staying silent while their commander was being mocked. In a move that catches everyone off guard, Claire drops into a deep bow. She offers a sincere apology for letting a rookie carry the weight of her fight while Miguel panics. Our boy is still spiraling, asking if he is headed for prison or a death sentence. Claire just looks at him and clarifies that she never intended to punish him at all. She drops the truth, admitting that his outburst actually made her happy. Miguel is left standing there with a blank stare, unable to process the sudden turn. Flashbacks show how Lisa was always the target of mockery because of her kindness. Claire admits she lacked the courage to step in and defend her friend back then. A rare smile touches her face as she explains how seeing Lisa finally have loyal subordinates warmed her heart. The vibe in the room shifts as she opens up. Miguel is struggling to keep up and asks if they were actually close. He mentions the old rumors that they were bitter rivals who could not stand each other. Miguel is sweating buckets as he repeats the rumors about Claire and Lisa being bitter rivals who hated each other. Claire completely shuts him down by admitting she actually adores her friend. Miguel's brain just reboots. Turns out they were dorm mates and besties for years, leaving our boy questioning everything he knew. He brings up how she supposedly glared at Lisa during the ceremony, but Claire has a very different explanation. She was actually just holding back tears of joy because she was so proud of her girl. Miguel is totally stunned. A long silence follows as the reality of her secret soft side finally sinks in. He points out that her expressionless face causes a lot of confusion, though she thinks he is being a bit rude. Flashback to the military office, which is a total disaster zone. The room is buried under a mountain of documents, and a younger Lisa is already drowning in the workload. The former commander steps into the chaos, noting how much the atmosphere has changed while Lisa groans in the corner. She is completely checked out. The work is never ending, and she is convinced her arms are actually about to fall off. There is zero mercy in this unit. Subordinates arrive with even more tasks, completely ignoring her pleas for a tiny nap. The commander watches from the sidelines as the paperwork piles up high enough to hide the entire desk. Lisa finally hits her limit and goes quiet. Walking up behind her, the commander looks on with a heavy heart and reaches out to her friend. Sleep finally wins the battle. Looking down at the exhausted girl, the commander admits she really worked herself to the bone, calling her little one with a faint smile. The library goes still as the candles burn low. Taking a seat, the commander promises to watch over the office for a while and tells Lisa to make sure she comes back. Flashback to a rainy night at the military academy long ago. Lily was wide awake in her bunk, unable to sleep with the sound of the rain and the stress of tomorrow's expedition. She noticed a shadow moving in the dark and called out to her roommate, Karis. Karis was caught red-handed sneaking around the dorm and quickly told Lily to keep it down so they wouldn't get in trouble. She wondered why her friend was still up this late. Turns out neither of them could get any shut-eye. They sat together in the quiet room, just two tired girls sharing a moment of peace before the chaos of duty. Karis had her art supplies ready and decided to head out for some fresh air. She flashed a smile and invited Lily to join her for a little midnight escape. Back in the present, Lily snapped awake from the memory of those old days. It was just a nostalgic dream, but it felt incredibly real. Looking out the window, she realized that even inside a dragon, the weather stays the same. Suddenly, Lisa burst into the room with a massive surprise to start the day. Lisa is absolutely shredding on the ukulele and wants to know if she sounds like a pro. Ammon is actually impressed, telling her she sounds like a wandering bard. The morning vibes are high as they greet Lily, who just walked in looking completely lost. She has no idea what these two are up to so early in the day. Since it is pouring outside, Lisa decided today is the perfect day to pick up some new hobbies. Lily just stares back, wondering what that word even means. They have a mountain of scavenged junk to play with since they are trapped indoors. From teddy bears to Rubik's Cubes, they are making the most of their rainy day. Lisa is already deep into her musical journey and insists that Lily needs to find a hobby of her own. Our former soldier is not exactly feeling the vibe. To Lily, things like entertainment and hobbies have always felt like a waste of time. She spent her whole life training and never learned how to actually have fun. Even looking at the ukulele, she still cannot bring herself to care about learning a new skill just for kicks. She wonders if playing an instrument would even make her happy in the first place. Lily tries to pass on the fun to avoid killing the vibe, but a strange wooden box catches her eye. Ammon offers her a painting set, and Lisa immediately jumps to the conclusion that Lily is a secret artist. Despite her protests, Lisa is already demanding a front row seat for the eventual masterpiece. Lisa suggests they hold a talent show once they are both experts, leaving Lily completely stunned by the audacity. Cut to later, and the peer pressure clearly worked. Lily is stuck out on the rainy balcony with a canvas, wondering how she got played so easily. Years ago, someone watches her work, and the weight of the brush feels strangely familiar. They found a perfect hiding spot in the ruined city to escape the military grind for a while. She finally finds what she was looking for in the wreckage, a complete paint set, tucked away like a hidden treasure. Her friend explains that the loud rain is the perfect cover for her secret hobby. She offers a brush and asks Lily to join in, but the suggestion alone is enough to leave her completely speechless. Holding out a spare brush, she invites Lily to join in on the fun. Lily immediately shuts it down, seeing any extra effort as just more work she does not need. A heavy sigh follows as she calls Lily way too stiff for her own good. Since the painting is a no-go, Lily decides to just chill and watch until she starts feeling sleepy. She keeps pushing the idea, honestly believing that everything is better when you do it with a friend. Her smile is way too pure for someone in their situation. Looking back, Lily realizes she never truly got what made this girl tick. They spent so much time training together, but her friend always felt like a complete mystery. Even in a broken and rotten kingdom, her friend never lost that goofy grin. To Lily, she just looked like a happy idiot who refused to let the darkness win. Flashback to the training days, and Lily wonders how her friend stays so cheerful through the hellish military schedule. The answer is simple. Doing something she actually enjoys is the only thing keeping her sane. A warm smile follows. She explains that doing what you love is the only way to find actual peace in a world this chaotic. Back to the present, and Lily is finally giving the craft a shot. She fumbles with the oil and pigment until the brush finally catches some real color. Out on the balcony, the rainy atmosphere isn't exactly helping her confidence. The shapes are looking messy, and the frustration is definitely starting to build. A sudden light bulb moment holding the brush upright finally gives her the control she needs for those thinner, cleaner lines. The self-doubt starts creeping in. She looks at her work and realizes Karis was on a completely different level, wondering what she is doing wrong. Surrounded by her attempts in the rain, she critiques her own style. The colors feel too plain, and she knows the highlights need to be way brighter to make the image truly pop. Ammon rolls up with some tea expecting a mess, but he finds Lily completely in the zone. He asks if she's ever done this before, thinking he'd need to teach her the basics. She admits she's basically a newbie, but one look at the canvas leaves him completely speechless. It's safe to say he wasn't prepared for what he saw. He's absolutely stunned by the quality and claims she's got some serious skills. Lily just looks confused, clearly not realizing she's a natural at this. Even as he calls it beautiful, she still can't wrap her head around the result. She's convinced there's no way a first-timer should be able to produce something this good. Mentioning how much Liena would love this brings a quiet moment of reflection. Lily stops for a second before asking him to help her with a specific part of the process. Pointing to the spot where the leaves overlap, she admits she's finally hit a wall. Even with all her natural talent, the layering is proving to be a real challenge. She asks if he knows the trick, and luckily he's got just enough experience to guide her. They settle in together as he prepares to show her how to handle the tricky details. Lily finally hits that sweet spot where the strokes start looking like actual art. She is shocked it is working, but her buddy is right there to hype her up. She tries to play it cool and says he is overdoing the praise, but he is not backing down. Even she has to admit something is finally clicking. For the first time ever, she starts wondering if having a hobby might actually be a vibe. She is still not sure, but the mood is definitely shifting. It is just a simple flower in a pot, and she is convinced she will probably get bored of this in 5 minutes. She is just focused on what is right in front of her for now. But honestly, in this very moment, she does not feel terrible. The usual weight on her shoulders is finally starting to lift. Back in the day, her friend told her that doing something you love is the ultimate cheat code for inner peace. Seeing that genuine smile makes it all make sense. Lily is finally catching the vision and realizes she should have picked up the brush years ago. Being a hater was just holding her back from actually enjoying life. Flashback to the dark days, a commander barks for Lily Selame to get over there, and she can only offer a submissive, "Yes, sir." The job is brutal. She is ordered to strip the gear from a rookie whose first mission ended in a body bag. Staring at that scarred, lifeless face, the weight of her reality finally starts to sink in. It was her beloved friend. Reality hits different now. Looking back at the wreckage of her past from a rainy balcony, she finally admits she really threw away something precious. That's it for today, guys. If you made it to the end, comment peak manga so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.